The Paul W. Smith Show, News Talk 760, WJR.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Monday, President's Day 2021. The gang is all here. And some of my gang from the afternoon coming in the morning, which is great. Great to be filling in for Paul W. We hope you had a lovely weekend, maybe some romance in your life with the Valentine's Day. Welcoming in to Rich Lazinski, who's riding the traffic desk today. Marie Osborne, of course, doing the news. And Thomas, the poobah of poobahs. Danielle Mason is pushing all the buttons back of the station. Do anything special for Valentine's Day?
Well, we made a nice dinner together, and that's always fun.
And you live to tell about it?
Yeah.
Is Ed skilled in the kitchen?
He's excellent. He makes most of the dinners. It was a big deal that I chimed in with him.
Really? So this was a bit of a role reversal.
It was good that I got involved. That was part of the Valentine's Day.
Yeah, and Marie, I know that John helps out a lot, doesn't he?
John's actually like Ed. John's a very good cook. He can definitely hold his own in the kitchen. I'm usually, in charge in the kitchen, but he definitely can. He cooks dinner most nights, especially when I was working afternoons with you, Guy. He would cook most meals. We did something interesting yesterday. Once again, we had the Slows truck come to our home for our subdivision. So people were able to order in the subdivision, and then we saw a lot of our neighbors yesterday, socially distant, of course, and they came and got take and bake meals. So we had a great dinner yesterday, but it was all, it was literally brought here. So it was wonderful.
What a great
I just
idea.
think that sounds so tasty.
It does, and it really helps them out too. Obviously, in this pandemic, they've had to pivot their business model, and this has turned out to be a big success for them.
My neighbors want to do that.
Idea.
Good idea.
They heard about it, and they love this idea. And plus, it's a nice way to kind of get out and say hello.
Oh, we waved to all, we were on the porch and we were saying hi to everyone. We all had our masks on, but we, had the opportunity to say hi to so many people in the neighborhood.
Do the wet naps freeze on your fingers when you get them when you're eating barbecue outdoors?
Well, you don't eat it outside. You take and bake. You take it home and you put it in the oven, warm it up, and you've got a great dinner.
Okay. Yeah.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah,
we got up yesterday morning and Gail had the great idea and I was already kind of in work mode because Sunday morning talk shows and things, I get a lot of stuff off that. But it was interesting. She said, I know this great little French patisserie in Birmingham. We've never been to it before. Let's get our gear on, go out there. Now it's 6 friggin' degrees out there, okay? But she says, let's go out there. And she says, let's go get some French pastries and we'll celebrate Valentine's Day with a little treat to ourselves. Great idea. Of course, she doesn't have the exact directions to the patisserie. By the time we get there, there's a line out the door. And but it was worth standing in the cold. We got our stuff, took it home. We also got some wonderful tarts. We've been streaming the Great British Baking Show. Ate our tarts, which is it's a hard show to watch because it just makes you hungry and craving sweets. So we had some sweets available last night, and that's how we spent our Valentine's Day. But it was, and we ordered pizza in. Very fancy.
Guy, what's the name of this place?
I knew you were going to ask it. I don't remember.
Well, I know there's 2 of them.
But it's the one on Eaton Street next to Jeff's Pizza.
Canal.
Thank you.
Patisserie Canal or something. I'll look up the exact name.
Well, Gail says it's Canal Patisserie, and I said, like the funeral home people, the canals.
Well, no. No, it's a great place, by the way. Great place to order a birthday cake, I might add. Just throwing that out there. I mean, not my birthday. I've ordered birthday cakes there, and they're great.
It was neat because the couple in front of us were from France.
Oh.
And so they're speaking back. It kind of added to the ambiance.
They're plants, Guy. They put them there each week.
They go in, they come out, they get right back in line for the next people. Kind of like the Disney characters. Okay. What a great idea. Well, it added to the experience. So the folks at Canal, pay that couple a little more. I would have tipped them had I known. Oh, let's get to Rich Lizards. By the way, 8 inches of snow on the way by this time tomorrow, folks. So let's brace for it and be ready. And let's get to Rich Lizinski, WJR Traffic.
WJR Traffic first,
Sponsored by Lions Club International.
We are Lions. We bring hope where it's needed, support causes that matter, change lives, change communities, change the world. Visit lionsclubs.org to learn more.
WJR Traffic First is also sponsored by the Carpenters Labor Management Partnership Team. Make a career change today and join the skilled trades. The Carpenters LMPT contractors are looking for professional, hardworking individuals that want to build a career with great pay, full retirement, and family health care. Text JOB to 855-424-2562. That's JOB to 855-424-2562. An accident on I-94 westbound after Harper Avenue blocks your 2 right lanes. Look out for an accident blocking the exit ramp on the southbound Southfield Freeway at McNichols. A wreck blocks 2 lanes on I-94 eastbound at 8 Mile. And we have another accident blocking the right shoulder of the I-96 eastbound ramp to I-75 northbound. It is a little slick out there, so please do be careful. Now, WJR Weather First from the Weather Channel. Sponsored by Gordon Chevrolet, where buying a car is fun, fast, and friendly. No advertised fake lowball prices, just great service and great pricing. Come home to Gordon Chevrolet on Ford Road, just west of Merriman in Garden City, GordonChevrolet.com. Gordon Chevrolet, find new roads. Here's your forecast.
Clear this morning. Clouds will increase into the afternoon with a few flurries late as the high hits 24. Snow showers will move in overnight. An inch or two may fall with a low near 11, and another inch or two of snow on Monday with a high of 17. From the Weather Channel, I'm meteorologist Jeff Maher on News Talk 760 WJR.
News Talk 760 WJR on this President's Day 2021. Let's get a thought from Rush Limbaugh.
UC Berkeley, one of the most liberal universities on the planet, and for 40 years, Berkeley has been spending money from a multi-million-dollar fund with a terrible history. The Genealogical Eugenic Institute Fund is just what it sounds like. It's a fund devoted to eugenics. Now, eugenics is the discredited idea that the human race can be improved by breeding for certain traits and getting rid of others. It was the basis for Hitler's horrible Nazi ideology. The Nazis believed the Aryan race was supreme, so they tried to eradicate everybody else they deemed inferior. In America, eugenics was promoted by Margaret Sanger, the founder of Planned Parenthood. She believed that blacks were inferior. She wanted to use abortion to get rid of them, which explains why so many Planned Parenthood facilities are still present in minority communities. Now, when the Los Angeles Times reported on the Berkeley Eugenics Fund this week, faculty members were shocked to learn that it's existed for years, but the school kept it quiet and quietly spent all that money. I guarantee if any conservative school had a supremacist eugenics fund, its doors would close. But this is Berkeley, run by leftists, so nothing's going to happen. And they'll keep spending the money because in their own minds, liberals are superior, and they deserve to do as they please, including wiping out any of us they deem to be inferior.
Rush Limbaugh, noon to 3, today, right here on WJR.
While we've been...
Okay, gang. So during the spot break, we can just chat here until Danielle brings it back. And yes, Marie, we can absolutely comment back and forth with our followers this morning.
How do you do that, though? I see
where it says post a comment. It says all next to it. Do you have that?
No, I have private chat and then I have comments. And there's no other. There's nothing on this.
See if you see me do this. I'm gonna say.
You might have to be an administrator to do that.
Which we can.
Now you can punch up a tab where you've got Facebook. I just pull up Facebook on a different tab.
Oh.
So that I can go to the JR Facebook page.
Yeah. See, and then I'm an administrator on Facebook, but I'm not here. Hi, Bill. Bill Bray says hi. I want to talk to you guys.
You could actually, they can make you an administrator.
All right.
Anybody who asks can be an administrator.
Does that come with a badge or not?
Well, yes.
Two keys for the nuclear launch as well.
Jane says hello to Marie.
Hi, Jane. Yeah, this is our crowd here. Happy to see everybody. And I know
Yeah.
that some folks are reporting they're seeing pretty good snow cover this morning. Jane's saying 10 degrees and snow in Highland this morning. So it's coming, folks, right?
It seems like the back end of winter is a lot worse than the beginning, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Am I the only one that enjoys it? I mean, my thinking is if we're going to have winter, let's have winter.
Yeah, I agree. I'm with you.
And because I mean, I'm going to be getting on my cross country skis and taking the dogs out if it's not too awful this morning.
Where are you going to go for that? Do you go to a golf course?
Yeah,
Or?
there's a golf course right across the way here, and I screwed up my knee the other day because I fell into a sand trap. They've changed the course. There was a sand trap that I didn't know was there. This is a course I play all the time.
Uh-oh.
But
Well,
they've redesigned parts of it. Addie and I are walking along, and all of a sudden, whoa, boom. Oh, it was
boy.
funny.
Glad you're okay. Glad you didn't hurt yourself.
Yes, I fall down a lot, Rich. So it's it's one of those things where
Yesterday was a great winter day because we had the snow, that's okay. We had the cold temperatures, okay, that's fine. The sunshine was just
Yeah.
awesome, right?
Yeah, it sure was.
Made it really it reminds me of winter like in Aspen or places like that where they just have great snow and I mean, even if it's winter, it's great weather with a lot of sun.
Well, that's a good point, Marie.
yeah, that yesterday was a great day to
Nice
get
day.
the dogs out when it was sunny. I went and played tennis indoors instead and missed my opportunity, but I'm not going to do that today. We'll talk about impeachment off of 6 o'clock. Just to get a little take on Lindsey Graham's take on this, Mitch McConnell's. Did you guys see the CDC guidance on getting kids back in schools? Did it? I mean, did you find it revelatory? I did. I found something kind of interesting about it, which was if you look at the green zone, the area where the community spread is low enough that you can absolutely send kids back into class. We are at that in every county in Southeast Michigan. We are well below those parameters. I went and checked on the state's website, clicked on every county. Only Lapeer County, which is a little bit above 5% positive tests. When you look at it, it says you can go back now. It's just going to be really interesting how superintendents and school boards and parents process that.
I think also the big concern too is that a lot of people think the teachers should just be vaccinated. That's you keep hearing that over and over again, that the teachers want to be vaccinated.
Well, and so kudos to Governor Whitmer. She made them phase 1B, very early on. We've got at least, and it's ranged between 1/2 to 2/3 of teachers already with one shot in the arm.
Yep.
So, and I would love to hear from our Facebook folks. What are your reservations about sending the kids back? If you have any reservations about that. We just saw last Wednesday Ann Arbor schools, and we can talk about this when we come back, but Ann Arbor schools said we're staying all virtual. We're not going to listen to the governor. We're not going March 1st as a goal to get the kids at least some back in class.
A progressive
and
play all day long.
One of those things where you
Fast
say, well,
cash,
okay,
the
if
fun
you say you're
keeps
basing it
building.
on science, this is the CDC science that they're giving us.
Now back to more of the Paul W. Smith Show. Here's Guy Gordon.
So I don't know if you had a chance to talk with any of your friends or neighbors, but the CDC sent out its new guidance on Friday about sending skids. Yes, it is snowing out there. Maybe that was Freud reaching in and dealing with my traffic brain. But putting kids back into classrooms, and this is their operational strategy for K through 12 re-engagement. And it states very clearly here that they've got what they call the green zone, the yellow, the orange, and the red in terms of community spread. And they have said that even if you're in a high area of community spread, if you really religiously do the mitigation strategies, you can send kids back. But we're seeing some districts, we've got districts that have went back in September and never looked back. We've got others that are still fully virtual. Ann Arbor last Wednesday decided they're going to stay virtual for a while now. But the science says otherwise. When you talk to your friends and neighbors, and our folks that are listening on Facebook Live as well can weigh in on this, what are the reservations that they cite, if they have any, to sending their kids back in class? Gang, what are you hearing?
Marie, what are you hearing? I'm hearing mostly that as long as the teachers are vaccinated, it's a great idea to get the kids back in school, that they need to get back into school. And it looks like it would be very safe for them to finish up the year back in school in person, as long as those teachers are comfortable and vaccinated.
Yeah, I'm hearing pretty much the same thing. Parents across the board. I mean, we've got a lot of neighbors here with children in elementary school.
Yeah.
They have just been pulling some heavy weight at home. And I mean, we have one of our neighbors who the mom quit her job. Now they're financially in a position where they could do that. But I mean, think about that. She quit her job to stay home with the 3 children. So yeah, they want to get their kids back. You know, Guy, you're talking about Ann Arbor schools being completely virtual. I wonder if that's because of the variant that has popped up there. So it
No
really
question.
in a big way for them. So I wonder if that played a role in that.
I certainly, and I'm only singling them out, not to pick on them, but to say that that was a decision. I mean, they had this debate, and you've got a number of different stakeholders, but this whole idea and the mantra is follow the science. If the science says we can go back, then we should go back. Well, the problem is there's a lot of folks that really don't necessarily trust the science, and it's okay to trust other people can trust the science with their kids, but I'm not going to trust it with mine. I'm not ready yet. So you hear some of that. We had a school superintendent on from the downriver area who is head of the Superintendent's Association. He said, you know, one of the biggest problems is, he goes, all the red tape that was created by the state of Michigan, that if we go back, we have to have a plan. We have to revise the plan every month and then resubmit the plan to the state, get approval from the state from that. He goes, it is nonsensical how much nonsense we have to go through to convince the state that we're doing this safely. But it's, and I was telling the gang during the break, after the CDC sent out these guidelines, to be in the green zone, there are 2 parameters. One, you have to have fewer than 20 cases per 100,000 residents. That's your daily new case count, fewer than 20 per 100,000, and less than 5% positive testing. I looked at every county in southeast Michigan. We are well below the 5% threshold for positive tests, and everybody is in the pretty much the 13 to 14 range. We're not on the lower end. We're kind of right in the middle of that spectrum, but everybody, with the exception of Lapeer County, is in the green zone. That according to CDC guidelines, we can send them back.
Hey, Ann, who's the doc that we talked to last week?
I was just going to point this out, guys. So this is, we're all saying, it looks like they should go back and it seems safe. Well, we had Dr. Sims on, Dr. Matthew Sims, the head of infectious disease research for Beaumont Hospital. And toward the end of the conversation, Paul said, Dr. Sims, would you send your children back to school? And Dr. Sims said, absolutely not. They will be doing online learning until further notice. So that kind of threw a little bit of a controversial monkey wrench into everything, because it was kind of like, uh-oh, he's the head of infectious disease research.
Well, and it's funny, we've got Jane on that's watching on Facebook this morning, and she says, if I still had young kids, I would never send them to a public school again. There's this resistance, and it's how you process the information, whether or not you trust the information, and where your margin of safety is. And just because the CDC says we can do it, and of course we've got this, honestly, the Biden administration on this is acting like the Lions defense in the last 4 minutes of the game. We're going to have all of them back in school, K through 12, in the first 100 days of my administration. Well, then it became K through 8. Now he says, well, we'll have 50% of them back at least 1 day a week. Well, you know what? We've already got 68% back nationwide. He's already met his goal, but they keep marching backwards. And it just looks like that once again, they're not on this administration is not on the same page with its COVID task force either. And so it's more than a little troubling. We'll be back with more on the Paul W. Smith Show. We love the fact that you're joining us on this snowy President's Day. Stay tuned. Let's get to WJR traffic with Rich Lazinski.
WJR Traffic First is sponsored by Window World. Call Window World at 1-800-NEXT-WINDOW for your window, door, or siding project. And take advantage of 0% financing for 60 months. Window World is America's largest exterior replacement remodeler. Call 1-800-NEXT-WINDOW or visit windowworlddetroit.com for a free in-home or virtual quote. An accident on I-94 westbound after Harper Avenue blocks your two right lanes. Just picked up a wreck on I-75 northbound at the Davison. Look out for an accident blocking the exit ramp on the southbound Southfield Freeway. That's at McNichols. And a wreck blocks 2 lanes on I-94 eastbound at 8 Mile. Now WJR Weather First from the Weather Channel, sponsored by Primetime Testing Laboratory. In need of autonomous or electric vehicle testing? Primetime Testing is the industry's best and complete automotive testing services. From component level to full vehicle. For your next automotive project, get a free quote at primetimetestinglab.com. That's primetimetestinglab.com. Cloudy with snow showers up to 3 inches expected for today, 5 to 8 inches for tonight. It's 14 degrees. I'm Rich Luzinski, WJR News in 2 minutes.
The Salvation Army's Bed and Bread program provides more than one.
You know what I find myself doing? I don't know if you guys do this too, but and this kind of goes from this conversation about schools, is I find myself looking at different places, whether it's a school, a church, a restaurant, a grocery store, and how are they dealing with COVID? So for me personally, if I think that any of those places are dealing with COVID in a safe way and paying attention to all the different guidelines and protocols, I am really more inclined to go to those places. Like personally, I've just decided I'm going to watch and see who I think is doing the best job at being as safe as possible right now. And then I have no problem going to those places. Does that make sense?
By a place-by-place basis. Yeah, I think that's smart.
And
That's
I think
what I've been doing.
The same thing with schools. You know, if the school can show that they are really doing a good job and they've got the masks and the plexiglass and they're, really paying attention, I think parents would be more comfortable.
Yeah.
No question about that. We all tend to be a little bit judgy. And if you walk in, and I saw this the other day, and I'm not going to name the place, but it's a really great little grocery store. Okay. I walked in and they weren't enforcing any mask rules. And right next door is a pharmacy. I walked in there. They're not enforcing. There was 4 or 5 people in there that weren't wearing masks. And I noticed that they were talking about this on the Nextdoor app, and people were getting upset about it because an elderly person went in and said, "Hey, I'm coming in to pick up my prescription. I'm trying to stay healthy, and you aren't even enforcing the state mandate." And the guy got his back up about it. And but you're right. You are going to make, and the problem is then I worry about competency. You're in the medical community, for goodness sakes. You're running this pharmacy.
Yeah, the pharmacy, for crying out loud. Yeah.
And you're not creating a safe environment for the elderly folks that are coming in and picking up their meds. So what's that about?
And you know what? It's not going to last forever. You can already see the numbers are dropping significantly. In large measure, cheers. In large measure, due to all the different mitigation procedures that everyone is taking, all of us included. So, this is going to end for right now, just for a few more months. Just follow the guidelines and keep yourself safe. It's very interesting, but I understand people are tired of it and they've had enough. And I get that this has been a really tough time. But on the other hand, just for now, at least personally for me, I go to the places where I think they're being really safe.
Yeah.
Just personal opinion. I know everybody, it'll be interesting to see on the feed, because I know we have a lot of people here that get up with us every morning that don't agree. They think it's time to just get out there and do whatever. And I respect that, but that's just what I think.
But you're absolutely right. You're going to make judgments based on, I mean, you would even do that in a restaurant. If you happen to glance in the kitchen and the kitchen's a mess, and you're going to judge that restaurant based on how they keep they run their operation, right?
And the same thing now. If they're wearing masks and they're trying to be safe and keeping everybody socially distanced, I would go into a restaurant that I thought was safe. It's the same thing with a church. Some of the churches are being really, really careful, and you think to yourself, you know what? I would be comfortable going to that church. Others, they're not as careful.
Yeah.
I have to say that I've had some really nice, relaxing meals because there aren't as many people there, and it's the service is very quick. Now is actually a really good time to go to a restaurant in certain places because it's quiet. It's very peaceful. I'm actually enjoying it quite a bit.
So when you do that, I haven't been out yet to eat in a restaurant, Rich. Do you wear the mask the entire time other than when you're eating, or how?
I do, unless I'm eating. And even in between, when meals are, in between serving, I keep my mask on. Obviously, I keep it on if I go to use the restroom or walk around, but I keep it on unless the fork is actually going into my mouth. I keep my mask on. That's just my personal preference. And I've noticed that all the staff, everywhere I've been, has been sublime with the PPE and all of that.
Oh, the restaurant folks have been awesome.
They really are. I have to give them so much credit because I know this hasn't been easy on them, certainly from a business standpoint and from a routine standpoint, but they're all doing awesome. Everyone that I've been in anyway. And I did go into one restaurant. I walked in and it looked too crowded to me. And I said, okay, I'm just not going to go here. I'll go someplace else. You have to use your own judgment, like you were saying, Ann, on a case by case, place by place basis. That's part of our individuality that we have as part of our freedom. We can choose where we want to go. If it looks uncomfortable to us, and just don't go in there.
So we went out to eat for the first time since March this weekend.
Oh.
We went out with my daughter, her husband, and the baby. And the Gordons have been in pretty deep lockdown because we've got now a 6-month-old baby. It's just like why take any risks?
Yeah.
When you've got a little one like that. And she's so precious. So for Valentine's Day, we dressed her up. But what we did was, it was interesting. We went to a place that had one room that was not spoken for, that was isolated. And our thing was, just have the waiter drop the tray on a stand at the door. We'll serve ourselves.
Oh,
that's a good idea.
Yeah.
And the wait staff was all masked. And,
sure.
And we made sure that we came in the door. We had no contact with anybody. We went right to our room. It was great. Everybody was comfortable. And I'm not sure that we were any safer than we might have been if we had been in a regular restaurant with a table that was very distant. But it was, again, within what our measure of comfort
financial guest
with the baby,
as well as going out.
And she was dressed up. My granddaughter was in her little Valentine's Day outfit. It was a
here on
WJR. It was just so much fun to get
The Paul W. Smith Show, News Talk 760, WJR. Here's special guest host, Guy Gordon.
Well, I don't know how special he is. He's just changing the side of the clock, but it's great to be with you on the Paul W. Smith Show. Happy President's Day, everybody. Speaking of presidents, we saw one former president escape conviction in the Senate over the weekend. It did not end with a whimper. It ended with a bang with Mitch McConnell, after voting to acquit, then coming out and giving a blistering speech, which, as many commentators have said, would have been an outstanding closing argument had he worked for the House impeachment managers. Here was just one of the many points he made.
74 million Americans did not engineer the campaign of disinformation and rage that provoked it. One person did. Just one.
Putting it back on President Trump, condemning him in a variety of ways, not just the fact that what they call the big lie that he perpetuated about this being a stolen election, that was his to own, but going forward also saying this dereliction of duty theme that has been so much a part of the impeachment that we heard last week, especially in the latter days of the impeachment. And that is the one thing that, especially with GOP senators, seemed to get the most traction. They're saying, look, this idea of what words he used, whether he incited, it is so subjective. We're not even sure that this is a constitutional exercise. He does have First Amendment rights, we believe. We think those could have been infringed upon. It's a bad precedent to set. But This idea that from 1:15 in the afternoon after he left the podium until the next day, there was not a full-throated condemnation of what those rioters were doing in the Capitol. Lindsey Graham says that Mitch McConnell just made a hash out of their attempts to win the Senate back because he believes that Senator McConnell's speech will be used in 30 and 60-second ads to attack any Republican candidate that may come down the pike for 2022 or 2024. Here's Senator Lindsey Graham.
I think Senator McConnell's speech, he got a load off his chest, obviously, but unfortunately, he put a load on the back of Republicans. That speech you will see in 2022 campaigns. I would imagine if you're a Republican running in Arizona or Georgia or New Hampshire, where we have a chance to take back the Senate, they may be playing Senator McConnell's speech and asking you about it as a candidate. And I imagine if you're an incumbent Republican, there are going to be people asking you, will you support Senator McConnell in the future?
No, I do agree that maybe your support for Mitch McConnell might be a litmus test in future Senate races in places like Arizona, Georgia, or New Hampshire, as Lindsey Graham pointed out there. Don't you think it's much more likely that you're going to have to explain the president's words on January 6th and that those are the sound bites you need to worry about? Is Lindsey missing the larger point here?
I think so. The other question I had, Guy, and everybody should weigh in on this, is what was this political strategy there with Mitch McConnell? You know, he did vote to acquit the president, but then he delivered this blistering commentary on what occurred. And, you know, he is a very sharp politician. He knows what he's doing at all times. What was he doing there?
Did he have enough? That was just the last straw. He just had enough.
Yeah, I think he has been sitting on that criticism for a long time. This has been a festering wound for him for quite some time. I have heard some of the talking heads say, look, he could not keep his power if he voted to convict. Okay, he would have lost his leadership position. But he also morally couldn't stand by and not let this go uncondemned. So that, you know, he's trying to have it both ways, which is retain his power, but state unequivocally going forward that those are not the values of the Republican Party, and to try to hit the reset button, say, here's what the Republican Party stands for, and to move along on that. I just keep wondering, listening to that, and we had this discussion with my listeners on Friday, this dereliction of duty argument seems to be something that people can weigh and judge a lot easier than the incitement argument, which is so subjective. You know, if you tell somebody you got to go out there and fight or you're going to lose your country, is that really inciting? And especially since everybody seems to use the same verbiage. It only depends on what cause you're trying to fight. And we had a number of listeners on Friday say, yeah, I'm really troubled by that, because if it's about leadership, if it's about command, where was his leadership on that day? And I think that's the damage of this. The bloom isn't off the rose with Republicans and Trump, but it wilted a little bit with this process. And it's whether or not he sustained political damage that many Republicans now think he's unelectable, Nikki Haley included. So that's going to be interesting going forward. Do you think Lindsey Graham says we need to move forward and Trump needs to be part of that process of winning back the House and Senate, but then he calls for a 9/11 style commission to work on this? Isn't that just going to keep the anti-Trump drumbeat and anti-Republican drumbeat going for another half year?
You know, and Guy, and on the point of incitement, one of the points that was just driven home throughout the entire process that we've seen unfolding in the last few days in D.C., in terms of incitement, the January 6th words are one thing, but this particular, a lot of people argued, as did the managers, the impeachment managers, that really the language started in November with the constant drumbeat of stolen, 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 and you're continuing planting that seed and cultivating it until finally, the word fight is used all the time in politics. Fight for what you believe in, fight for what you think. But all those times that those words were used, nobody ran and overtook the Capitol.
No, but I'm talking about the Republicans that will rationalize almost anything that Trump says and does, that even they, especially if you're going to talk about being the law and order president, if you're going to be the Blue Lives Matter president, going forward, if you should run again, how are you going to hang on to that claim when they can run shots of the rioting and show that nothing, it's going to be like the 3M phone call ad, right?
Hey, did you you saw who I'm sorry, was it McCarthy who had there was this leak of the phone call that McCarthy had with the president during the rioting, and it was profanity laced.
Yes.
Where he said, "You've got to do something," and the president said, "Well, these people really believe that I lost the election."
Well, and they believe more in this. They're more upset about it than you are, Kevin.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, see, that's the kind of thing that they want to explore by calling witnesses in this 9/11 commission to ask what was the president doing. My problem is it's who you put on that commission. If all they're going to do is grind the axe for Donald Trump, it won't have any credibility in the public square. It needs to be an objective and not nonpartisan, because that doesn't exist anymore, but at least a more objective approach to what happened, because from a security standpoint, we need to answer the question too. Back with more on the Paul W. Smith Show here on News Talk 760 WJR. We got some snow on the way. Let's check in with Rich Lazinski.
This report is sponsored by Compassion International.
It's a new year, but for kids in poverty around the world, things are still desperate. Join Compassion with your one-time $40 gift to provide a COVID relief kit to a family in poverty. Text the word GIVE to 83393. That's GIVE to 83393.
WJR Traffic First is also sponsored by the Construction Association of Michigan. CAM has been helping commercial and industrial contractors and suppliers grow since 1885, and now is the time to join. Join the most powerful network of construction professionals in the state, the Construction Association of Michigan. Learn more at buildwithcam.com. That's buildwithcam.com. A wreck slows you down on I-94 westbound at Vining Road. An accident on I-94 westbound after Harper Avenue blocks your two right lanes. We also have a wreck on I-75 northbound at the Davison that's blocking your left lane, and that wreck on I-94 eastbound at 8 Mile is cleared. Now, WJR Weather First from the Weather Channel. Here's your forecast.
Clear and cold this morning. Clouds will increase into the afternoon with a few flurries as the high hits 24. Snow showers will develop late tonight. There may be an inch or two falling with a low near 11. Another inch or two of snow into Monday with a high near 17. From the Weather Channel, I'm meteorologist Jeff Marr on News Talk 760 WJR.
While we've been staying safe at home, scientists have been on a journey. The destination, a COVID-19 vaccine. This journey began decades ago with research into other coronaviruses. Scientists built from there.
Hey, Guy. I just sent you the rundown from Fox this morning. Do me a favor and take a peek at it. They have added all kinds of interesting stories that we could add in here. So just take a peek. Numbers 1 and 2 look really interesting, as does
when you say 1 and 2, are you talking
like
about
the first thing?
But what do you do then? Do you call them and get Rob Weinhold in, or
I try, yes. So they're now working. So it's 6:15. So yes, I can. So if you look at the first one, Rob, we could try to get Rob. That looks interesting. So does Dr. Stewart. I think that one is absolutely true, especially for Monday. You know how the kids call it the Monday scaries. Next day anxiety causing millions.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah, that's
no question.
That's how hard it is to sleep on Sunday night. Rachel Sutherland is addressing what we are talking about this morning, or just talked about. What's next what does this mean for the Republican Party? It's like one right after another has been added in here. So if that's all right with you, I will give them a call now and see what's available.
So I like the 14th Amendment.
I thought you might, yeah. I don't know Rob, but he wrote a book.
Yeah, The Art of Crisis Leadership.
And I kind of like Dr. Hal Stewart, just because that affects all of us. What else do you see there? Do you like Rachel? Do you talk to Rachel in the afternoon?
I do like Rachel. I like Rachel a lot. I think I have yet to have a bad experience.
Yep,
Evan Brown has been good.
Yes. Nice job for us. All right. Well, let me do that. Let me call and see what's available here, and then I'll let you get ready for Mike, and then I'll be back.
Okay.
All right. Sounds good.
All righty. So, do we stay on Dream Team? Hey guys, do we stay on StreamYard? Danielle, if you're listening to me, tell me, do we stay on StreamYard or do you want me to call in on Lucy? Well, we hope your President's Day is off to a good start. You know what I'm going to ask you to do, Danielle Mason? I am getting mix minus back in my ear. Could you take that out? Because I've gone over to Lucy to talk with you. If you can do that, that'd be great. Great. That tells you. Can you help me with that? All right, we're going to continue on, and we're going to hope that me hearing myself back in my head on a 1.5 second delay isn't going to make me insane. Let's turn to our good friend Mike Lee, Crain's Detroit Business Managing Editor. He is coming in with today's edition of Crain's Detroit Business. Mike, good afternoon, or I should say good morning. I'm on the wrong side of the clock, you can tell. Well, I'm having a little technical issue here, but that's okay. I am intrigued by the story you have about a dream team being formed between Doug DeVos, Roger Penske, other business leaders yet to be named, forming a private equity concern. Tell me about that. Well, you're right. Our experience with private equity here in Detroit, we remember Cerberus, we remember Kmart, and we don't Art Van, and we don't remember them fondly. That they are strip and flip in many cases. At least that ended up being our experience. So the idea that this would be a more benevolent approach to private equity would be a really interesting concept. Mm-hmm. You brought up Art Van, an interesting story in today's edition of Cranes that talks about an interesting problem or maybe an interesting opportunity that we have in this area, which is the Art Van Elslander Foundation has a pot of money that it needs to give away. Right. Right. Well, it means that there are a number of different entities now that can make their pitch. And there's a number of them that caught my eye as being very interesting, innovative. One of them being Mitch Albom, obviously, who we have a personal interest in. That Say Detroit was one of those charities that they were very interested in maybe partnering with for this spend down. So the other thing that we're watching, and it is interesting, one of the most gratifying parts of this COVID experience, if there has been one, has been the arsenal of health component to it. We've seen so many businesses pivot on a dime from producing maybe a manufactured good to manufacturing PPE or sanitizer. And I guess the question becomes, do they stay in this diversified business once the pandemic ends? Really? Right. Well, and it's you know what, it's also focusing on what we can, the positive when we can, and it's an inspiring story that these businesses have innovated, and it's what we do best here in Southeast Michigan, and it has paid dividends both from a health standpoint and a business standpoint. Why not make the best of it going forward? Mike Lee, always look forward to talking with you. Crain's Detroit Business Managing Editor. Great new edition of Crain's Detroit Business. Pick it up, read it, enjoy it, or subscribe. Mike, take care. Have a great week. When we come back, we're going to be talking about some of the good news that came out, some progress that's being made on the COVID front. We'll get to that, as well as much more on the Paul W. Smith Show as we roll out on this President's Day 2021. Let's get to Rich Lazinski, WJR Traffic first. Hey, Rich.
Hey, Guy.
Hey, so I was sitting there. I never know what you guys do, so I pumped up Lucy because I wasn't sure.
So if I were you,
sounds better.
I think you should stay on StreamYard.
Okay.
Because we can, I mean, they both sound good, to be honest, but for StreamYard, I've got a couple more guests that are able, like Dr. Colander is going to come on StreamYard.
Okay.
And then I can tell Marie, to pop on, and you guys can see each other when you talk at 6:35. However, our viewers this morning say that the way it's set up, Danielle, when you switched it, they can only hear Guy. So can you go back to just so that they can also hear our guests and Marie?
Yeah, sorry to our Facebook friends. I don't normally work on this StreamYard thing. We don't do that for my show, even though we probably should. But we don't often do it. So, and it's easier because we take a lot of calls on my show. So yeah, forgive me if you lost me there. They were also reporting on Facebook that my audio was low, Ann. I don't know if there's anything that Danielle can do about that.
I know Danielle's listening. So Danielle, I've heard this before. Oh, so she says I was trying to fix Guy.
Yeah, we had a mix minus issue.
Okay, so now
because I was on Lucy.
Because you were on Lucy. So now we should be fine, though. Can you do anything? Can you boost your audio from on StreamYard? If you go over to Cam microphone and click on that and see if you can hit audio. And
my mic volume is turned all the way up. Yep.
Like I can hear you beautifully, but I have heard this before. I've heard this complaint before. So Danielle, what do you think? Do you think you could bring him up a little? We are back to normal. Okay. Well, let's see what happens here when Marie.
We are back to normal. Would somebody explain to me what normal is?
Well, that's the problem, Guy. We're not going to be able to help you with that one.
I know.
So we have Rob Weinhold in at around 8:15, although he's got to be out early, like by 8:22. So I'm going to ask Danielle there if we can do traffic and weather, go right to Rob, and then do the stop set at 8:22. We'll just fuss around a little bit there because he seems like be a very interesting topic.
Yeah, let me pull that up again.
So Rob he wrote a book called The Art of Crisis Leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm interested in this. The Art of Crisis Leadership. Okay.
It's interesting, though, that he is talking about something as specialized as the 14th Amendment. That seems an odd fit, that a guy that is...
Yeah, it does. Well, we'll ask him that. Chief Executive of the Falston Group.
Sometimes I think they reach a little too far in terms of trying to make their experts or whoever they're trying to promote fit into their...
spots after guest. Okay.
Oh, just stop it. I'm talking to my computer here. It's being naughty.
Okay, that's fine. All right, what is Danielle saying? Just remind me because I will forget. Okay. I can manually do it from the board. That must mean the levels she can manually fix from the board, maybe?
Well, and I would just say, Danielle, if you can, also monitor some of the comments on StreamYard because our listeners are
tell
the
us.
best. Yeah, our listeners are the best ones to tell us about whether or not I'm coming through on their end. The problem is I don't know how we pump it up for them without overriding it on the other side. So, Judge Mester, good to have you on the line there. Haven't talked in a long time, but enjoy the notes and hearing from you. And it will be interesting to see whether people process as Mitch as being from the swamp or whether conventional Republicans that weren't fans of Donald Trump. You know, there's this whole notion about who's the leader of the Republican Party, as if we've ever had just one leader. And, you know, McConnell's a leader, Lindsey Graham's a leader to some extent, Donald Trump's a leader, but he's also kind of a silenced leader now. So who's got the biggest megaphone? Maybe at the moment it's Mitch McConnell.
Oh, I think it does. I'm definitely not sympathetic with the leftist, socialist, democratic presentation. I just think that the weekend opened up a much broader conversation about what is going on here. Secondly, in 50,000 epidemic.
Would you do me a favor?
Yes.
Because I'm going to be juggling some stuff here when we come
Sure.
back. If you can find some background on the 14th Amendment stuff,
Sure.
what this guy's going to be talking about.
Yep. I'll get you some stuff and I'll email it to you.
Yeah, that would be great, and I can pull it up on my laptop here because I've got some stuff too.
All right, and there's Riri, so I'm going to pop out and see what I can find.
Help businesses like my friends at Mary Grove Awnings transform their warehouse. Be great for a showroom floor as well. The Motor City Floors and Coatings concrete coating system, 4 times stronger than epoxy, making it more durable and longer lasting. They have over 40 different colors to choose from and can usually install within a day. When looking to update that garage or basement or your business's concrete floor this winter, call Motor City Floors and Coatings. Call them at 248-613-5888. 248-613-5888 or visit MotorCityFloorsandCoatings.com.
The Salvation Army's Bed and Bread program provides more than 111,000 nights of shelter and more than 1.3 million meals every year to our community's most vulnerable citizens. Your donation to the Bed and Bread Club Radiothon makes it all possible. Give today at salmish.org or donate during this year's 24-hour broadcast presented by Ford Motor Company Fund on News Talk 760 WJR beginning 7 p.m. Thursday, February 25th, and join us live at 6 a.m. on Friday, February 26th.
If you're looking for any kind of new or used vehicle, come see us. Hi friends, Bill Golling here from the Golling Automotive Group, letting you know we have some great incentives going on all February long during our President's Day event. Remember, we have Golling Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Bloomfield Hills, Chelsea, and Roseville, Golling Alfa Romeo Fiat in Birmingham, Golling Buick GMC in Lake Orion, Golling Toyota in Warren, and our new Golling Kia store in Madison Heights. Since 1966, we've been honored to serve you. Learn more online at golling.com. That's again, golling.com.
Now back to more of the Paul W. Smith Show. Here's Guy Gordon.
So we welcome in Marie on this President's Day 2021. When you were growing up, I had a cool little thing when I was growing up with all of the presidents on like a stand. They were little figurines that were hand painted and really cool. And I mean, I learned all my presidents that way, and it had the years that they were that their terms were active. Did you grow up with a favorite president or obsessed with presidents the way I was as a child growing up?
You know, not so much. It wasn't until I really became engaged in like history and American history in particular in junior high that I really started to look at the presidents and start to learn more about them. I'm reading a great book on leadership right now. It's an older book, the Goodwin's book on leadership, where she looks at Lincoln, Roosevelt, the two Roosevelts and Johnson. So it's a really interesting look at their presidencies. And I'm sorry, the name of the author all of a sudden just went
Doris
on
Kearns
my head.
Goodwin.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's a great book on leadership,
yeah,
and really enjoying reading that.
You see her everywhere, and now that sounds wonderful. Now, did
Oh,
you
it's
have
great.
a favorite president growing up when you became more engaged?
Well, you know what? I of course Lincoln, really comes to mind. I also really like the idea of Teddy Roosevelt. I always was captured. He captured my imagination, just the way, he just approached life in general.
Well, have you read, I think it's called River of Doubt, about
Mhm,
Teddy Roosevelt, who at the age of 50, and back in those days, we weren't as healthy at the age of 50.
yeah.
50 was not the new 30 back then.
No.
Right?
Oh.
And it's just the active life that he led, this vigorous lifestyle, and how he came from being a very sickly child. And you talk about leadership, and we coined the phrase profiles in courage thanks to John Kennedy in the 60s. But when he took on the trusts, the J.P. Morgans, the Carnegies, who, by the way, did wonderful things in a philanthropic way and set up marvelous foundations that are still serving our society to this day. But this idea that he went to war with them to try to free up the market so that little guys still had a chance to get in. You didn't have these huge monolithic businesses that were incredibly predatory at the way they kept out competition. He is one of the most interesting presidents, and that was the one that plus he gave us our national parks. We owe him a great debt.
Yes, yeah. But and then, it's just him charging westward when people weren't doing that. And people certainly of his station weren't doing that. That was the other thing that I found interesting about his whole life.
No, he's a fascinating figure, a fascinating character. I think he was also, think about this now, he was in the early 1900s. He was the first president to get on a plane.
Yeah.
This was not that far removed from Kitty Hawk, okay?
Exactly.
And I'm sure he made a lot of folks nervous in the Republican Party, but he was just a fascinating character, and I didn't know this. My dad told me this a couple of years ago. My great-grandfather used to travel around. He was an attorney in La Crosse, Wisconsin. He used to travel around to give lectures about Lincoln. He was obsessed with Abraham Lincoln. And I've since obtained some of his speeches.
Wow.
And I mean, there's like an hour treatise on Abraham Lincoln and his greatness, and they're fascinating to read now.
He the resiliency of President Lincoln was unparalleled. He grew up in poverty to the point where when he was like, I think 4 or 5 years old, he was left with his older sister in a cabin by his father. It didn't have a door or window. I mean, it was open to the elements. His mother had died, so his father went looking for a new bride and left these 2 children there to fend for themselves. I mean, I guess they did that back then. And so he grew up in poverty. I mean, poverty stricken, and yet he educated himself. As we all know, he read the law and he educated himself, and he had this great memory too. People always commented on how he could, once it went into his mind, that was it. It stayed there, and he could recall it at any time. His intellect was really remarkable.
Just like you and I, Marie, minds like a steel trap. We remember everything, don't we?
Yeah, and I can't remember Doris Kearns Goodwin's name. There you go. It finally came out. So, sorry about that.
We don't want good news to go unrecognized here, because God knows, as we're going through the COVID experience, that we need to seize upon the progress that we're making. 2 pieces of news that I wanted to just pass along. MSU is going to be lifting some of the stay-at-home orders that they've been under since January 31st. And there's going to be a phased-in approach to re-engaging the campus community. That's a really important step forward, and is certainly good news for those of us that have kids up at MSU.
Yep, it sure will be. And, and let's see what the follow through is too in the months ahead, because everyone, students and all, really have to follow the directions in order to move in the right direction.
Also, Beaumont Hospital announcing that it is lifting some visitors restrictions, which we had a loved one that was there. And my wife, and it's one of our family members with some memory issues that isn't as able to communicate with staff. fortunately, my wife was able to say, he needs to have an advocate there, and she was able to get in and advocate for him. But it's so important that whether it's a nursing home or whether it's a hospital, that we allow those that are suffering and struggling to have access to the people that love them.
Absolutely. And I think that we've had a personal experience in our family as well, a very good family friend whose mother was in a nursing home. She couldn't visit her for the entire year, and she passed away in early January. Thank goodness her daughter was able to be there with her. But she talked to me about these window visits, and she said her mother kept saying to her, "Oh, come on in, honey, come on in." And she said, "No, Mama, I can't. They're not going to let me in." "Oh, come on, they'll let you in." So these folks had such a hard
Just
time.
don't understand.
Yeah, I had such a hard time with this. So, yeah, hopefully this is going to help change that for them as well.
Yeah, and they're very confident that they can keep COVID out, but let visitors in. And
Right.
especially those that, and as we get more vaccinations running, heaven knows that will become less of an issue. But it was just one of those happy little things that hit the inbox where you went,
Yes.
okay, this is a good thing. Let's seize on it and make sure that doesn't go unrecognized. So congrats to the folks at Beaumont who have found a way to
8
do
o'clock
this.
this morning, the visiting hours, the new visiting hours go into effect. 8 o'clock this morning.
Right, 8 to
They
8.
open. Yep.
All right. Thanks, Marie. Let's get to Richland's against WJR traffic first. Much more on the Paul W. Smith Show as we roll on this Monday, President's Day 2021.
This report is sponsored by SmartMouth, the only 24-hour mouthwash with twice daily use. If you talk to someone and they jump back because of your breath, you need SmartMouth, the 24-hour mouthwash. You want to turn heads, but not like that. SmartMouth is the only mouthwash that can provide 24-hour fresh breath when used twice a day. Pick up a bottle of SmartMouth today or visit smartmouth.com.
WJR Traffic First is also sponsored by the Construction Association of Michigan. CAM has been helping commercial and industrial contractors and suppliers grow since 1885, and now is the time to join. Join the most powerful network of construction professionals in the state, the Construction Association of Michigan. Learn more at buildwithcam.com. That's buildwithcam.com. That wreck on I-94 westbound after Harper Avenue is cleared. We still have that accident on I-75 northbound. That's at the Davison. Another wreck on I-275 northbound after 8 Mile. And look out for an accident on US 23 southbound at M59. Now WJR Weather First from the Weather Channel. Here's your forecast.
Clear this morning. Clouds will increase into the afternoon with a few flurries late as the high hits 24. Snow showers will move in
All right,
overnight.
gang.
Okay, so I'm going to bring in Dr. Colander so we can do a little test. Good morning, Doctor.
Hi, it's Colander. Thank
Colander.
you.
Thank you.
Right.
I'm glad you corrected it.
We've had Brian on our show. He's great.
Thank you.
I do feel, Brian, though, that thanks to your ads, that I should be accessing my inner Scotsman because she does such a great job. Brian Colander.
Yeah.
It just rolls off the tongue so much better when you've got a brogue.
Yeah.
You sound good, though. You sound
Well,
good.
thanks.
Yeah, you sound wonderful. So do you do a lot of telemedicine?
It's not a big part of what I do. We're really focused on prevention. So my patients come to the office. If they need it, we do it, but it's not like a focus of our day. Like, to me, telemedicine is another barrier to healthcare, because you've got to make it.
So that's really interesting. You're the second guy that I've talked with. I've got a good friend that's a cardiologist who is just absolutely over the moon frustrated with telemedicine. He thinks it's really been awful.
Well, I'm private, so I can do whatever I want. So I prefer my patients to come in. If they want to do a telemedicine visit, then I do. But that's option B. They're welcome to come to the office.
So is yours the kind of business where somebody pays a set fee and then you're their doctor and you're available?
Exactly.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's awesome.
We've been doing this with our physician now and our parents' physicians as well. And yeah, you're going to pay a little extra up front, but the idea that at any time you can call Dr. Colander and he will call you back is the most amazing thing in the world. You don't feel like you're going through layers upon layers of on-call people.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then is any of it covered by insurance or that's a separate?
Well, the fees for the practice are not covered by insurance. And then I'll say there's the access issue that you can get a hold of me. But I focus on prevention. So we do a lot of baked in, like the fee covers a lot of testing that identifies problems that we can prevent. Like it's heart failure week. To me, it should be heart failure prevention week, not,
And I love it.
These are all preventable diseases that no one knows because they're not covered by insurance. So no one practices it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They don't even know about it because it's so off their radar.
This is awesome. So somebody comes into you and they're struggling with a health issue, you immediately start to work to make them healthier.
Right. Well, we just take different testing, different data points, and then we can guide them through a process because we have more time.
No, that's awesome. That's really interesting.
Well, let's talk about that, and I'll ask you about it in the interview. The notion that so much of our healthcare is reactionary. I'm sick, so I'm calling the doctor. Not I'm well. I want to continue being well.
Right.
So how do I access the kinds of things that I need to do to?
The other thing is, it seems like lately, not lately, this has been going on forever, is you come in and you're sick and you have a symptom, immediately you get put on a medication that has about 10 more side effects.
Right.
You then have to deal with. And the issue isn't getting addressed properly.
No. And we try to only use medicines that save your life. Drugs that are critical toward, we focus on artery health. So you want to make sure your arteries are healthy.
I have a patient I need to send to you.
All right.
Okay, I will. I'll bow out and let you two chat. I'm looking forward to this. Thank you for doing it.
All right, thank you. Oh, my pleasure. Thanks.
Hang on. Oh, Guy, and you see that we put a note on there for Dr. Collander's shows too. If you don't,
I saw that, and I will shamelessly.
I want to make sure our listeners
shamelessly plug his show.
Thank you.
I put on our rundown that you're part of the family, so we want to make sure we take care of you. Hang on.
Thank you.
All right.
There's a lot of workflows. It's a multi-step process so that we could serve as many people as possible.
Regardless of the new strains of the virus, everyone that I talked to walked out with a feeling of relief.
It makes me feel comfortable and safe. And I feel that I have some protection now.
I'm Dick Hafner for WJR Health Watch.
Now back to more of the Paul W. Smith Show. Here's Guy Gordon.
Lord, I just love hearing Dick Hafner's voice again on a radio station. It's just such a comforting thing to hear Dick. I guess he was in the studio the other day during my show, but we were engaged in other stuff, and I never got a chance to talk with him. So that's a call I got to make. As we are here in the middle of February, and by the way, we do have some snow coming. We're going to keep you updated on that, but perhaps up to 8 inches by this time tomorrow. So we're Michiganders. We've been through this before. We're not going to scare you, but we're just going to let you know, hey, keep the shovel handy. This is Heart Health Month. You know what? Every month should be Heart Health Month, but we do pick February is when we want to highlight this for you. So we welcome in Dr. Brian Collender, who is a member of the WJR family. You can hear his show at 7 p.m. on Thursdays and Sundays at 3 p.m. in the afternoon. And if you get a chance, tune in because there is such good, user-friendly, life-changing information and the steps you can take to make yourself healthier. So, Dr. Collender, happy Heart Health Month, and welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Guy. And actually, as we just talked during the break, and we're going to rename it to Heart Prevention Month so that we can focus on the real issues, which is preventing chronic diseases that are so prevalent in our society.
What percentage of heart problems are truly preventable? Because I think there's a lot of folks that look at their family history and they go, man, I'm wired for this. And yes, I will do all the things I'm supposed to do, but that doesn't mean I can necessarily overcome the risk.
I actually think that heart attacks and strokes are nearly 100% preventable. So the concept of genetics isn't that you're fixed. It's that this is something we need to learn about and work around. And on the alternative is there's a lot of people who think they're super healthy. And that because they're eating healthy and they exercise, that they're immune to having any type of heart attack or stroke or heart failure. The issue is you don't really know where you are with your health unless you look at the details and you look at subclinical data, meaning symptoms and findings that occur before you have any disease so that we can prevent it.
Well, we all know the scary stories of people that we know that are super fit, eat super healthy, and yet at the age of 52 or something will keel over dead of a heart attack. I'm thinking about a college buddy of mine, Sam Merrill, who was an anchor man up in Flint. And so you tend to get a little bit fatalistic about this. What do you look for if you were to run a panel on me? Whether it's inflammation, things like that, what are the markers that you're going to be looking for to say, Guy may look good, but there are these things in his body that could be working against him, but we can treat those things?
Well, Guy, the single most important thing that you do is identify the disease that you have. And that means doing a very simple, in-office, quick ultrasound of the artery of your neck. And I do want to make sure the audience understands that this is not the same ultrasound that you may get at your doctor at this time, because like we said, insurance doesn't cover screening. And this is a different kind of ultrasound that actually looks at the layers of your artery that identifies the process of making plaque. And once we know that, we know where you are. That's the single most important test to do. Then we do some blood work that measures inflammation. You hit the nail on the head. Inflammation is the driver of artery disease. So once we know that where you are in terms of measuring and identifying the kind of plaque you have, we look at labs that measure the activity of that process. Then we put a very extensive program together that's personalized to reduce your risk. And we can follow that over time.
So you and I were discussing this during the break with Ann, but the whole notion that your practice is focused on prevention. But it seems like the rest of medicine and the medical culture that we have grown up in is you go see the doctor when you're sick. So it's very reactionary. We know that we're supposed to be changing that methodology. How are we doing on that? Is the medical culture, is the medical community at large doing a better job refocusing on wellness and not so much on fixing sickness?
I'm going to say they think they are by labeling things wellness and prevention, but they're not really doing it the right way. So we can all add a couple tools of wellness in our office, but if they aren't looking at it scientifically, using the advanced methods that we have, and again, I'm saying the words advanced, it's just that people aren't doing it. I mean, so if people would know what I'm talking about right now, if it were moving along, I wouldn't be the only one on the radio talking about prevention if it were in the society and medicine altogether. So I would say they talk about prevention, but they aren't walking the walk fully.
Help me understand, you're a concierge doctor. There's a
Right.
lot of people that have the impression that, well, you got to have a lot of money to be able to do that. You got to have some disposable income, that it's really only for the rich. And yet I've talked to people on my show, docs downriver, that say, no, we can get you in for a very, I think it was something like less than $20 a month that they were saying for their service. What is the essential difference between a concierge doctor and a conventional doctor? And is it necessarily only for those that are well-heeled?
No, so I think that this is for everybody. We all spend money on, big screen TVs and cars and watches. And so money is being spent. It just isn't being spent on health. It isn't as sexy to do, but it's important to be alive to enjoy your big screen TV and your car and your watch. So I have patients from all walks of life in my practice. And frankly, very few of them are what I would call, super, ultra wealthy. They're just average people.
And we want to remind folks that if you like what you're hearing with Dr. Collender, you can reach out to him at 866-KOLENDER, 866-KOLENDER. And I also assume, Dr. Collender, you've got a website that's easy enough. Would you give us the address?
Sure. It's colendermedical.org.
Okay.
colendermedical.org.
So if you do, well, we got to get to a break here, but very quickly, if you do that screening, what's the first step if we see inflammation in that artery scan?
Well, you do need a doctor who's going to shepherd you through the process of identifying, because each of these risks are personalized. And the doctor putting you through the process has to understand how to do that. So you need to find someone who knows what to do.
You can hear more from Dr. Collender every Thursday at 7 p.m. here on News Talk 760 WJR, or on Sundays at 3 p.m. With the Dr. Collender Medical Show. Doctor, always good to talk with you. Take care.
Well,
and
thank
we
you,
will remember
Guy.
that we are not fated to have to deal with heart disease. We can prevent it no matter what our genes tell us.
Exactly. Thank you.
All right. Take care. Dr. Brian Collender, 656 on News Talk 760. Rich Lazinski standing by with your traffic here on the Paul W. Smith Show.
This report is sponsored by Compassion International.
It's a new year, but for kids in poverty around the world, things are still desperate. Join Compassion with your one-time $40 gift to provide a COVID relief kit to a family in poverty. Text the word GIVE to 83393. That's GIVE to 83393.
WJR Traffic First is also sponsored by the Carpenters Labor Management Partnership Team. Hire the Carpenter LMPT contractors for your next construction project. Their workforce is the best in Michigan, professional, safety conscious, and craft trained for every project. Hire the Carpenters LMPT contractors today. Call 877-477-LMPT. That's 877-477-L.
Did I miss an Ion business throw?
We'll have to ask Danielle. There usually is an Ion business there.
I didn't hear it, and
I didn't
I'm sure
hear
she
it
was
either.
probably
Hang on.
telling me to do it on
Oh,
private
it says
chat.
intro Ion engineering. She played it already.
Yeah, doggone it. I did
That's
that the
okay.
last time I was on. I just, yeah.
Um,
I don't know if you need me to throw it in at some point.
I don't think so. I played it already. She's okay. I don't know if it had did it have a sponsor, Danielle? She'll tell us.
Yeah, it did. It was Continental.
Well, you can always, when you come out at 7, say, just want to thank Continental for
Yeah.
Ion Engineering today or whatever.
I forgot that we didn't have a guest at 7:05.
So what you're going to do there is open up and talk to Marie, and then at 7:11 you throw to Mr. Sloan. Jeff Sloan. Sometimes he's
Wait,
live.
do you want to drop in? Because that's going to be our last kind of chat moment, isn't it? We've got everything else booked.
You have a... Yes. Well, no, 8:05 we have a chat moment too.
Okay.
But
Do you want to do the Yale University thing there?
Yeah, that's
So
fun.
I went online. For those of you that are listening on StreamYard and on Facebook, the number one, the most popular course at Yale University has been taken online, and you can take it yourself through Coursera. And the best part is it's free. It is the art and science of well-being. Essentially, it's teaching you how to be happier, developing the life skills for happiness. So we're going to be talking about that in an hour or so, because the article on it, and I sent it to Ann, I just found it fascinating. We were trying to get the author of the article on, because she actually went through the entire course. But I signed up for it last night, Ann, and I took the first installment. And they have you self-evaluate, which is really interesting, because they ask critical questions about your level of happiness.
Uh-huh.
I found out I'm a pretty happy guy, but I also know that
I could have
worry
told
about
you that.
Well, you also know that I worry about too much crap.
Yeah.
I worry about small stuff, and I put far too much pressure on myself, and I think people that are a little type A and results-oriented do that. We do that to ourselves. Maybe that's what makes us good at our jobs, but it also, I think, makes us less happy, because you can't tell yourself don't sweat the small stuff, because you just do. Right?
Yes. I think it is the key to your success, though. But we do like to tease you about getting into the weeds.
Oh yeah. Not deep in the weeds, but I also get locked in. Okay, my show is going to be this today, and I want to talk about this, and if one element doesn't fall into place, it's like, well, damn it.
I know. It's hard though, because to do a really good show requires a lot of preparation, and you really prepare. You do an excellent job preparing, because you want to know what you're talking about.
I also get really excited about stuff to share with listeners, and if I don't have a guest to do that can really make us all smarter, then I get really frustrated.
It drives you crazy. I know.
Yeah. So it's.
I know. It's not easy. Sometimes, some days you can get guests, and they all fall into place, and then other days it's like, where'd everybody go? It's a lot of juggling. But I enjoyed your conversation with Dr. Collender. he's really interesting.
So we had him on, and I can't remember why but early on when we were trying to really get the 411 about COVID and what the symptoms were and what we can do and do masks really work, we used him on a couple of occasions, and he just makes it simple.
So when he talks about prevention, he kind of reminds me, a lot of our viewers may know this doctor too, Dr. Brownstein. So Dr. Brownstein is both a medical doctor, and he got tired of the way medicine was being practiced,
Right.
just constantly dumping medicine on people. So now he has kind of veered into the holistic world. So he tries to, he does a lot with prevention and supplements and that kind of thing. And he's very popular and very busy. And I was wondering if Dr. Collender is a little bit like that. Because I'm sure if you get into his office and you've got some form of heart disease, you're probably going to get a whole tutorial on eating better and exercising, right?
Yeah, but how stupid is it that these screening tests that can be really predictive on your risk factors aren't covered by your freaking insurance?
Right.
I mean, how bass-ackwards is that?
I know. Now, that one scan that he's talking about is fascinating, because all they're really doing is taking a look at the carotid arteries in
Which
the
is
neck.
funny because, I'm the kind of guy that I when I go to my doctor, and I haven't been probably for a full, they call it the executive,
Yes.
analysis. And I haven't done it in a while, and I need to go do it. But the last time I said, I know that my cholesterol is high. My dad's 96 years old, has had the same god-awful cholesterol, but he's 96 years old. And if I have his genes, then my cholesterol doesn't clump. It doesn't stick in arteries. It doesn't turn into plaque, right?
Right.
So I paid, and it was pretty expensive. It's like maybe $800. But I paid every time that I do the thing to have the heart scan to see if there's
What it looks
any
like.
calcium and to see if there's any stuff. in
Right.
there.
Yeah.
And at least then you've got that peace of mind that you've given the look, and it's not covered by insurance either.
Yeah, Dr. Joel Kahn is a big fan of that test, the calcium screening.
So when that first
Yeah.
came out, it was the year 2000. I had been out of work for almost 3 weeks with double pneumonia. And I went back, and they were trying to give me some light duty. So I went out and did a story up in Flint. The first heart screening system was at McLaren Hospital up in Flint. And they screened my heart, and we shot it all for the, it was a reporter participation thing, and they shot it all for the story. And they said, turn off the camera. I'm like, what? They said, turn off the camera. I said, Guy, you've got double pneumonia. It's like, I know, I've been out for 3 weeks. It was like they saw this heart scan, and it scared the jeepers out of them. And it was like they were going to deliver the really bad news, but turn off the camera. We don't want this on the air. It's like, oh no, I know. I'm an unholy mess, and I'm just now getting back to work. They said, you got a lot of damage in your lungs. I said, no poop, Sherlock.
That's funny.
But that shows you how long. It's only been 20 years since they were doing that. And at the time, doctors were poo-pooing that test, saying, and this is part of the problem with the medical community. They're very locked in on their thinking, and, like the whole thing about viruses causing ulcers and how long that took to become mainstream. But it was very
My
funny.
bank. Yeah, no, I know. It's a thing. Marie, we were talking about Dr. Collender, how interesting he is.
He definitely is. I had a chance to listen to a little bit of that myself. It's, what though, he's asking people to do the hard thing, right? We have to do the heavy lifting when it comes to heart health, and a lot of people don't want to do it.
No, you're right. All right, I'll let you two chat here.
And why don't we do it? Is it because we really don't want to know?
We don't want to know.
The Paul W. Smith Show, News Talk 760 WJR. Here's special guest host, Guy Gordon.
So we were talking earlier about getting kids back in the classroom, and there is now, money in the COVID relief package for that. And Marie, Interesting graphic that got thrown up a few minutes ago on one of the news channels, that the Biden plan $130 billion for school improvements in order that the kids can go back safely. But Congress has already approved $68 billion, and of that, only $4 billion has been spent. Isn't this the way Congress does things? You haven't paid down the money we gave you yet, but we're going to give you more because we want to be able to tell folks at home that that's what we're doing for you.
That's what's getting done. The giving of the money is what's getting done, not really the work getting done.
Yeah, and there is going to be, and we knew this with President Biden coming in, that there's going to be a showdown. Yesterday, he marked the anniversary of the Parkland High School massacre and attack, and rolled out a whole raft of gun control, or on the other side, Second Amendment infringing laws that he wants to put out there, one of them being magazine clips. He's also talking an assault weapons ban. So there's going to be a showdown on this, but there's also going to be a showdown, Marie, even closer to home, and that is that as folks have been looking deeper into Governor Whitmer's budget, she has put several $1 million, $5 million into the supplemental proposal to put magnetometers so that we can have a complete gun ban at the state capitol building, not just the partial ban that the Michigan Capitol Commission has already done on its own. Reluctantly, by the way. They say we shouldn't be in the policy-making business. We shouldn't. We're here to preserve the building, not to enact policies and weigh these decisions about Second Amendment rights versus security. And so it appears that she has tried to plant this money in there to say, okay, I've given you the money, now do it. So we're going to have a showdown here with Republicans over whether or not that's a good step to take, or whether the open carry ban, which is kind of splitting the baby, kind of a compromise position that they had, whether that's good enough.
Well, and then as you well know, in the impeachment hearings this past week in Washington, Michigan played a big role in some of the case that was presented there, that what happened in Michigan in the spring with the armed protesters getting into the building, that was kind of a precursor or a dress rehearsal for what happened in Washington in January.
Yeah, I don't know that a lot of the players were the same, and I can understand why they want to say that.
They drew that line. That line was drawn, right?
I think that narrative is one of those things that just sounds good. I don't know that you could actually prove that. It gets back to the notion, too, of why we do need a greater understanding through a 9/11 Commission type investigation. I think it will just continue to pour more salt in the wound, because in this case, the enemy wasn't an external enemy that was involved. It wasn't radicalism. It was radicals within our own borders. And I think that's a much more uncomfortable conversation to have. But this notion about whether or not we should go for it. And if you heard Mitch McConnell on Saturday, he basically came out and called for the President of the United States to be charged in criminal court, that he felt that was the more appropriate venue. And it was almost as if he was daring Democrats or daring U.S. attorneys to do that. So two things that we've really got to be watching for going forward. One, whether or not there's going to be this 9/11 Commission. And surprisingly, a lot of Republicans have said, you know what, we do need it, because we need to understand the security failures. But we also need to understand this idea of homegrown terrorism. Mm-hmm. And of course, on the other side, we need to keep Donald Trump's name in the news, and we need to keep beating this now twice impeached, exiled to some degree horse.
Right. And the former president loves one thing, and we know what that is, and that is to be the center of the news cycle, right? That we can all agree on.
Well, and I think Democrats, if in their heart of hearts, believe that that's part of the center of their universe as well, because they need to have public enemy number one. They need to have the villain. Yeah. And as long as they can keep him out there, that suits their needs as well. The problem is it does distract us from the mission at hand, which is trying to conquer the pandemic, trying to get our economy back on track, and just trying to move forward as a country instead of relitigating old controversies.
There's an interesting article too. I think The Atlantic, but I know others have published some some research on this. I know I had a story on it on Friday, a very light story on it, didn't go very deep, about who exactly was arrested on January 6th in the state capitol. Who were these people? They were not the typical people that you would think were, would engage in that kind of behavior. It was a very interesting article.
Well, and and the Times did something similar too. It's not a one-size-fits-all explanation, though. I mean, there is no question that there were people there that got caught up in the moment and swept up in the moment, and then there were those that had been planning this for weeks. And we need to have a greater understanding about how each worked together and how broad the pre-planning was and how many warning signs we might have missed along the way. There is a 9/11 comparison there, and I think, and a parallel that I think is really important.
Right. Well, when you saw the T-shirts that people had made for the event, that then you knew that there had been some pre-planning involved, right?
The T-shirts are always the first indicator, right? What we need to do is start surveilling T-shirt companies, Marie. It's the most important thing we do to save America. Watch the T-shirt companies. Those silk screeners. Oh, that's where it starts. We've got a little something we got to do here, which is WJR Business Beat. It's brought to you by My Bank, Michigan's newest bank, built for businesses and the people who run them. Learn more at mi.bank. Here's Jeff Sloan, founder and CEO of Startup Nation, to spotlight the entrepreneurial tech and startup community here on WJR. Jeff?
Should we be hearing Jeff? I can't hear anything.
This report is sponsored by Compassion International.
It's a new year, but for kids in poverty around the world, things are still desperate. Join Compassion with your one-time $40 gift to provide a COVID relief kit to a family in poverty. Text the word GIVE to 83393. That's GIVE to 83393.
WJR Traffic First is sponsored by Gordon Chevrolet, where buying a car is fun, fast, and friendly. No advertised fake lowball prices, just great service and great pricing. Come home to Gordon Chevrolet on Ford Road, just west of Merriman and Garden City. GordonChevrolet.com. Gordon Chevrolet, find new roads. An accident on I-275 southbound after Ecorse Road blocks your left shoulder. Look out for a wreck on I-275 northbound after I-94. We have another accident on I-94 westbound at Division Road that's blocking your right shoulder. Your left lane is still blocked by an accident on I-275 northbound after 8 Mile. And expect delays on US 23 southbound at M59 due to a wreck slowing you down from Clyde Road. Now WJR Weather First from the Weather Channel. Sponsored by Marathon for commutes that feel like concerts, road trips that don't go as planned, or long drives to bring you closer together. Marathon has the fuel to keep your engine running at peak performance for quality fuel through every mile. Fill up at Marathon. Here's your forecast.
Clear and cold this morning. Clouds will increase into the afternoon with a few flurries as the high hits 24. Snow showers will develop late tonight. There may be an inch or two falling with a low near 11 and Another inch or two of snow into Monday with a high near 17. From the Weather Channel, I'm meteorologist Jeff Marr on News Talk 760 WJR.
Here's a taste of what you missed the last time on The Rich Paul Show.
What if you crash with your portfolio? In other words, it crash and burns. I call it in my book, bulletproofing your portfolio. So in other words, you can handle a head-on and still survive with your portfolio. So if you do take a big hit, you know that your retirement is going to continue on. You can weather that storm because you position the portfolio properly. And if you've done that, you've gone a long ways to addressing the next emotion that we're going to talk about, which is fear. I call it sleeping with one eye open. And that's just no way to live a retirement. And the point is not to be too reactionary.
Just real quick, do you know our next guest? Or do you recognize do you know how to say his name? Silmy? Is it? You're on mute, I think. I can't.
I'm going to assume it's Silmy.
Maybe Danielle could correct us. Danielle, would you check that when you talk to him? I was just curious about this story because they made a big deal out of it. I was just wondering, the reason I asked him to come on is this a big issue here in Detroit? Like, what's going on?
Well, and I think the whole idea of why can't I take more than $10,000 in cash outside of the United States?
Yeah, I've always wondered about that.
Is it about tax enforcement? Is it about
drug dealing?
If I want to do a wire transfer to a bank on the Cayman Islands, I seem to be able to do that. We know all kinds of people hide their wealth overseas. So
it is a good question. The other thing is I assumed that he could also warn people about this phone scam just because it's coming from the same organization.
I had to laugh. I mean, how awkward was it for that agent to say, please,
may I look in your
at your lady stuff?
They probably see stuff all the time. So Danielle, could you tell us how do we say his is it Silmy or Slimy the way you have it? Is it Slimmy? I need to know how to wait a minute.
Now back to more of the Paul W. Smith Show. Here's Guy Gordon.
Well, you may have seen the article of a major seizure happening at Detroit Metropolitan Airport, and I think it got a lot of attention because of the way this individual was smuggling a lot of cash. I think we all like to have our traveler's checks or billfold, with a little extra money when we travel. But when you're running around with $60,000 in undeclared U.S. currency, it's going to get the attention of the federal authorities. So we welcome in the Chief Customs and Border Protection Officer, Ray. And Ray, help me with your last name.
Silmy.
Silmy. I was going to take a stab at it, but usually when I do that, it's wrong. Good morning to you, and welcome to the show.
Thank you, sir. How are you today?
Very good, thank you. Refresh the memories of me and my listeners today, please, about why we have this limitation on the amount of currency that Americans can take with them when they go abroad. Is that about making sure that money's taxed? What's behind the law?
Actually, there is no law that states that you cannot that you're limited to how much money you can take outside of the United States. That's kind of like a rumor or hearsay. Actually, there's no custom duties, taxes, or other fees, and there's no limits on how much money you could take out of the United States or bring in. You just have to report any monetary instruments over $10,000. And what that basically means is, it could be cash and any denomination, coins, paper currency from other nations, gold coins, traveler's checks, stuff like that, basically.
So I can take as much as I want, but I just need to be honest and declare it? Is that the law?
Yeah, basically you just have to declare it. There's a form, a FinCEN form that needs to be filled out. And what the form basically does is just allows the U.S. government to know when large amounts of currency are moving in and out of the United States.
And you folks in Customs and Border Patrol are interested because obviously people that are shipping large amounts of cash back and forth could be involved in illicit activities.
Yes, and that does happen. It doesn't mean that everybody that we encounter that has over $10,000 doesn't get the opportunity to petition for the currency back. Legitimate currency, for the most part, is not what we're concerned about. It is the large bulk currency that's being smuggled in and out of the country for illicit reasons.
So I don't want to make light of it, but I am intrigued at how your customs officer found this cash that was being undeclared. It was found in a packaging for feminine napkins. What on earth? How awkward was that? And what was it? I mean, what is it that you guys do? How is it? What are the telltale signs that tell you this person might be hiding something? I better check this.
Well, Guy, our officers are very well trained. A lot of our CBP officers have done this for many years, and we've seen it all. We may not have every story to tell to release to the media because of ongoing investigations, but our officers know what they're doing. They know what to look for. They get us every single day, and if you do the research online, I'm sure you can find open source news articles about other interesting stories of currency seizures that we've encountered in Detroit and elsewhere.
Well, we know about people that smuggle things in their own bodies, and I can't imagine how unpleasant that is for your people. But how big a problem is this with people shipping undeclared currency back and forth and potentially involved in a lot of wrongdoing that we want to at least try to get a handle on, be it drugs or something else?
It's a pretty ongoing issue. I mean, we can't dive too deep into the details, but CBP does do a lot to combat, the illicit and illegal activities involved with bulk currency smuggling. We don't want to take people's money. At the end of the day, we don't want to take their hard-earned cash. Basically, CBP has to enforce law, and for the most part, if it's legitimate currency and you just didn't know the rules or the laws, and we clearly explain those to everyone. The reporting requirements are out there. Everyone's aware of them. But for the most part, what we encounter here in Detroit and pretty much all the ports of entry is, an honest mistake sometimes, or just people just don't know the reporting requirements. The other stuff that you see, the larger amounts of currency, like several years ago, I would say at least 10 years ago, we had a situation where someone had, millions of dollars in their semi-truck. And that was undeclared currency.
Right.
That's a whole different story right there, for example.
What I would also think of the border, you almost have to be an automotive specialist as well to know where the nooks and crannies are in any particular model of vehicle, because they've come up with some pretty innovative ways to hide and stash this stuff. What are some of the more unusual devices and methods that you've seen, if you can share those?
Just from experience for myself, I've been with CBP for well over 15 years, closer to 18 years now. I've seen currency in gas tanks. I've seen, along with drugs and stuff at the land border. But we've seen, small side suitcases where people would put currency in their suitcases, money belts, where they would just carry a belt that actually holds currency. Sometimes they'll put some money in their shoes. They'll tape it around their body using duct tape. Anything you can think of, people would try to do it. And our officers have the tools, the knowledge, have the technology. We also look for behavioral cues as well. And all this stuff helps us at the end of the day to kind of, see what we're looking for and kind of combat these bulk currency issues.
I think you'd have problems with somebody like me, officer, because I just look guilty constantly. So I'm not sure that I would tip you off.
No, you know what? People sometimes are just nervous being around law enforcement or just being, going through airports and traveling. It's not always a pleasant experience traveling, especially these days, But we know what we're looking for.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, you know what? It's something that we do every single day. We're just used to it.
Very quickly before I let you go, and we thank you for being here, there is a scam artist out there, or maybe several of them, that are trying to pass themselves off as Border Patrol officials to get banking information from people. What's going on with that? Is it still an active threat?
You know what? We have heard some information on that. I've recently actually received a similar phone call myself. We ask that people report those to our Homeland Security Investigations Division.
Wait, you got a call from a guy that was masquerading as a guy like you?
Yep, I had a voicemail myself, and I just ignore calls that I don't recognize. And yeah, I had a gentleman call me saying, basically, this is U.S. Customs. He sounded, like he was calling from some other country somewhere, and I just basically, forwarded the voicemail over to our Homeland Security Investigations Division so they can look into it.
Oh, I bet the temptation to tell him, sir, I am a customs officer, and you're not.
Right. But, people just need to be careful out there, guys.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, because apparently they tell you that they have interceded a package that had your name on it. Their idea is to scare you and to say, to clear this up, we need this banking information from you to clear it up. And, of course, people are always willing to help with law enforcement and unwittingly will do that. Officer Ray Selmy, thank you so much. Good job on interdicting this cash, and we're a little bit smarter about the idea that we've got to declare that stuff if we decide to do it. Take care, sir. Thank you.
Thanks. Nice talking to you guys.
Well, whether you're traveling across the border or not, we got to get some traffic your way to figure out whether things are running smoothly. Let's check in with Rich Lazinski, WJR Traffic first.
This report is sponsored by SmartMouth, the only 24-hour mouthwash with twice daily use. There's nothing that'll scare your hot date away faster than bad breath. Luckily, SmartMouth mouthwash has got your back for 24 full hours with 2 rinses a day. SmartMouth is available anywhere mouthwash is sold, so pick up a bottle today or visit smartmouth.com to learn more.
WJR Traffic First is sponsored by the National Electrical Contractors Association, NECA. Put the expertise and skill of NECA signatory contractors to work on your commercial, public, industrial, or residential construction project. NECA contractors like DF Best Company are powering Michigan's future, project after project, on time and on budget. Learn more at smcneca.org. An accident on I-275 southbound after Ecorse Road blocks your left shoulder. Look out for a wreck on I-275 northbound after I-94. We have another accident on I-94 westbound at Division Road. Your left lane is still blocked by an accident on I-275 northbound after 8 Mile. Another wreck on I-696 westbound at Middle Belt. And expect delays on US 23 southbound at M59 due to a wreck slowing you down from Clyde Road. Now WJR Weather first from the Weather Channel. Cloudy with snow showers, up to 3 inches expected for today, 5 to 8 inches for tonight. It's 14 degrees. I'm Rich Luzinski, WJR News, in about a minute.
We're all spending more time at home these days. I know many of us have thoughts about updating or renovating. I recently met with a company preferred by WJR's great inside-outside guys called Motor City Floors and...
You doing okay? You need anything?
No, just looking over the stuff the 14th Amendment stuff that
I sent Good.
Down.
Okay.
Yeah, it is kind of a bastardization of the 14th Amendment because it was clearly intended to block Confederate officials from ever being involved in the new government post-war.
Yeah, I know.
So it's really kind of a stretch and a distortion of it to use it.
Yes, it looks like it is. Yeah, that'll be an interesting conversation. See what he says about that. But yes, I think you might be right. I'll let you look at that. You know what I learned yesterday? I learned something new yesterday. So this year, instead of Catholics getting ashes on their forehead, Monsignor Zenz was telling us yesterday that they are going to use the European tradition of sprinkling ashes on your head so that their thumb doesn't touch.
No contact.
Yeah. So, because I got thinking, well, that seems kind of unsanitary, right?
Yeah.
So it was very funny. So he said that women who have their hair done or, have a nice hairdo, might not care for having, a clump of ashes dumped into their head. And so therefore you don't have to go up for ashes this year if you don't want to. And I thought it was just, I never knew that they did that in Europe. And I thought, oh, I really learned something new yesterday.
I think that makes so much more sense.
I know. And you know what? You don't have to, you could just have a little sprinkling. You don't have to have a whole bunch of ashes put on the top.
It is this Wednesday. Ash Wednesday's this Wednesday, isn't it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I just thought it was
Is
fascinating.
tomorrow Fat Tuesday?
Yes. Tomorrow is Punchki Day.
Oh my gosh, I am so out of it.
I know. And you know how Debbie usually delivers, the Dingles always deliver.
Yeah.
So this year they're doing a really nice thing because so many people at so many stations are working from home.
Mhm.
This year they are giving the punchki to frontline workers. And so instead of dropping that off at radio stations where nobody is, that they're giving it to different frontline workers. And I think that's a really nice idea.
Oh, I love that idea.
Yeah, I do too. You know, for a lot of reasons. We don't need any punchki or a punchek.
I've become a punchki.
That's
I
not true.
just- Oh
funny.
man, no, I've been playing a lot of sports and being really active. I cannot get 1 pound off my frame. It's just
Oh, that's
it's just I don't know. Have you ever heard of paddle tennis? Oh, you just froze, Ann.
I know, I see that.
There you go.
I'm back.
Have you ever heard of paddle tennis? It's played
I
in
have,
a
but I've
cage
never
with chicken
played.
wire. Yeah, I've been playing a lot of it, and I'm in a tournament right now, and it is so much fun. But we've been playing it when it's 5 degrees out.
You're crazy.
But it is so nice to get outdoors and
Yeah.
do an activity.
I know. We went for now when it was a little warmer, we haven't been out when it's been this cold, but when it was a little warmer, we went over to Heritage Park and walked, and it was absolutely gorgeous. So if you can get out and do something, it's good for you. All right.
It's absolutely good for the soul. I did want to check in and
Dave
see what the,
Dulio.
see what the radar's doing. Okay. Yeah, we do have some snow showers that we're in the middle of.
Yeah. Just think it's going to be a snowy day.
Yep.
Is Dave there? Okay, so Dave is on the line, so you're good to go here. And I'll be back.
We got there, but man, that took out a lot of race cars.
16 cars again involved in that one. The call on Fox Sports, 14 laps in. Minutes later, lightning stopped the race for a lengthy delay. For underdog winner Michael McDowell, the series victory was his first in his 358 career starts.
Did any of you
Checking
guys
the world
on
markets
Facebook
this morning,
see
they are
Daytona
up
yesterday?
across
I
the
tried it.
board. For
I kept
WJR
having
News, I'm Marie Osborne.
every time I tried to check in, they were in a rain delay. It was impossible to watch. But that was one whale.
You know, our winter here in Detroit hasn't been too
And, you know, it
bad.
used to be we
But
used to
just
see
because we
things like
weren't
that, just
buried in
assume that
snow and
nobody got
ice
hurt, but
doesn't
after
mean the
Dale
cold
Earnhardt,
weather wasn't tough on the roof of your
just don't
home.
take that for
Well,
granted
W
anymore.
here.
That was a
If you think your roof may have issues that need attention, don't put it off. Call Victor's Roofing today and schedule your free 21-point video inspection of your roof before the spring rush hits. Their inspection includes a complete video analysis of your roof from top to bottom. Their expert roof technicians will also carefully examine the areas that are early indicators of roof failure and point out any issues that need to be addressed. If any are found, Victor's will give you a customized plan to address them. And don't forget to give back through Victor's program. For every 100 roofs Victor's installs, they'll donate a roof to a family in need. Schedule your free, no obligation,
I'm so
21-point
jealous.
video inspection
We try
at
to walk the dog over there every other day.
734-6666-914
great place
or go
to have a
online at
walk.
victorsroofing.com. Success in business is no longer about
There's
left-brain
a trail
thinking
that
or
goes
right-brain
around
thinking.
Kingswood Lake
It's
that
about
is just
whole
terrific.
brain
Talking
thinking.
to Judge Fred Mester,
That's how you
who's
succeed in
out
business.
on a walk at
And that's
Cranbrook
why
this
there's
morning.
Walsh. To learn more and do more,
Yeah,
go
Patrick,
to
you saw that?
walshcollege.edu.
And I guess it was two teammates.
This is Maria
that
Monti,
nudged each
tax
other that
partner from
caused the
Metro
crash.
Detroit
How
Accounting
crazy
from
is that?
Shindell Rock, with our weekly tax tip for business owners. 2020 is the third year of the new tax law change that allows for a special 20% deduction for many pass-through businesses. But certain strategies can be used to maximize that deduction today and into future years. Shindell Rock specializes in these and other complex tax questions for Metro Detroit businesses. Learn more at shindellrock.com.
Join Paul W. Smith as he talks to all the movers and shakers making the biggest difference in the D. It's Opportunity Detroit, presented by Rocket Mortgage, every Sunday at 1 p.m. on News Talk 760 WJR. Come and explore the thunderous power of Japanese drumming with Kodo. This energetic outdoor performance from Sado Island, Japan will stream February 15th through the 20th. Presented by Macomb Center for the Performing Arts at Macomb Community College. Get your tickets at macombcenter.com. Now back to more of the Paul W. Smith Show. Here's Guy Gordon.
Well, because it happened on a Saturday, I don't know how many of you were able to see the closing arguments in the impeachment or what happened afterwards. Several senators trying to explain their vote. Others that voted for acquittal, trying to say in the message that what they were saying does not mean that they anyway necessarily advocated for the president or did not think that he deserves some measure of accountability. All of them were trying to walk, in many cases, a very, very fine line, leaving a lot of it open to interpretation from those of us that saying, well, how can you condemn on one hand and then vote for acquittal? We're bringing David Dulio, who's the professor of political science at Oakland University, who we like to tap into at times like these to understand the lack of understanding that we have in our politics these days. Professor Dulio, it's always a pleasure.
Good morning, Guy. Nice to talk to you.
So for those of us that watched Mitch McConnell vote for acquittal and then come out with what was maybe an even better closing argument for conviction than the House Democrats gave, how do we process that? And what was his justification for feeling that he had to do both?
Well, I think it's certainly legitimate for some folks to look at what Senator McConnell did and say that he's trying to have it both ways, that he's trying to let Trump off, but he's also trying to be critical. But the other side of that is that he looked at it and said, yeah, not the greatest look for the former president, but at the same time, it didn't go far enough to vote quote unquote guilty and maybe lead to barring him from running for office in the future.
And yet, he went even further than that. He almost made an endorsement or an ask to see criminal charges filed against the president. I mean, it's one thing to say, the proper venue for this would have been a criminal court and leaving it at that. But he went even further in his pronouncement to say maybe that's the appropriate venue. Why would he feel the need to keep this alive with a criminal complaint?
Yeah, Guy, I think that's a great point. And it's further than I've heard any Republican go in saying that there's another proceeding that should take place in the wake of this historic second impeachment. And I would be surprised if that didn't happen. I think McConnell is getting into really what is going to amount to a battle over where the Republican Party goes in the future for 2022, 2024, and beyond. Do they stick with maybe the Trump coalition, or do they move to something else, maybe something that's more familiar to a lot of Republican voters out there that they've seen in past elections or past years in terms of policy positions and choosing different candidates running for office?
It was interesting. Nikki Haley came out on Thursday in an interview with Politico, and she is one that has been, to some degree, a reluctant loyalist, if there is such a thing. I mean, she has not been above criticizing the president, but she was a loyal soldier to him, certainly as his UN ambassador. She basically cut all ties in this interview with Politico, saying we never should have followed him down this road of saying it was a fixed election. We let him do it. We shouldn't have done that either. But she went further and she goes, she believes that he's politically damaged goods and is no longer electable. Do you sense that that's a growing view or an outlier right now?
I think that's a growing view, and I think you're going to hear more calls and more statements that are similar to Nikki Haley. Not only was she a Trump loyalist, as you mentioned, and has become critical, but she's one of those individuals who is already being touted as a potential strong candidate for 2024.
In looking
so
at
she may be she may be trying to stake out some turf here and plant the flag for 3 years from now.
Well, and it's interesting to see the avenue she's taking vis-a-vis Marco Rubio, Ted Cruz, Josh Hawley. There's this notion that Lindsey Graham has put out there that there's no way that you can win back the House and the Senate in the Republican Party without Donald Trump. I mean, if there was a theme to Valentine's Day for the Republicans, it was breaking up is hard to do, because they've got this notion where you can't live with him, but you can't live without him either. Going forward, what is their avenue to try to bring back the suburban, college-educated, female voters that have drifted away from the party and have been replaced by new voters? I mean, Donald Trump, congratulations, you brought new people to the Republican Party, but some of them are also problematic, some of these far-right extremists. So how are they going to walk that difficult line, David Dulio, in terms of both having their cake and eating it too?
Well, that's the million-dollar question moving forward, right? And that's sort of the catch-22 that Republicans are in right now. And it'll be really interesting to see how it plays out in the next 2 and 4 years.
Well, it will be. As I was watching that testimony on Capitol Hill, just thinking all the 30-second ads that could be made about 3 a.m. phone calls, for instance, only it would be in the context of, there's a riot at the Capitol, Mr. President, where are you? I think that's going to be a theme that we see a lot of in the attack ads coming up for the 2022 House elections.
No question. Trump is going to be an issue in the coming election cycles. Democrats are going to use him as a club to beat Republicans over the head with for at least the next 2 election cycles. Also, somebody like Marjorie Taylor Greene is going to be an issue and is going to be maybe the next boogeyman that Democrats use against Republicans.
She is going to be the AOC of the Republican Party, David. There's no question about that. Or she could be a one-woman squad. Take care, David. Always good to hear from you. Oakland University, professor of political science. Let's get to Rich Lazinski, WJR Traffic. First, back with more on the Paul W. Smith Show for your Monday.
This report is sponsored by Compassion International.
It's a new year, but for kids in poverty around the world, things are still desperate. Join Compassion with your one-time $40 gift to provide a COVID relief kit to a family in poverty. Text the word GIVE to 83393. That's GIVE to 83393.
WJR Traffic First is sponsored by Window World. Call Window World at 1-800-NEXT-WINDOW for your window, door, or siding project and take advantage of 0% financing for 60 months. Window World is America's largest exterior replacement remodeler. Call 1-800-NEXT-WINDOW or visit windowworlddetroit.com for a free in-home or virtual quote. That accident on I-275 northbound after I-94 is cleared. On I-275 southbound, your left lane is blocked by...
Are you good? Do you need anything?
No, I think I'm fine with Jenna. The one thing I didn't happen to see is this Michael McDowell that won the Daytona yesterday. I wonder what the guy was driving.
You know who else will be part of this call? Veronica Scott. Jenna and Veronica.
Right, and Veronica's the lady that
She's our lady.
Designed and manufactured those incredibly unique.
Yeah, she's one of our Women Who Lead honorees. I think, didn't she come in the studio a year or so ago, well, now probably 2 years, and you guys all promoted her organization for her throughout the day, and then they helped raise a lot of money.
Oh yeah, I bundled up in one of those sleeping bags, and
I remember that.
Actually, I thought it would have been fun to have a race to see who could turn the coat into a sleeping bag and back into a coat the fastest.
It's a great idea.
The design of those things is one of the most innovative, outside-the-box things I've ever seen. They are just so good.
I think this is a cute story. They're giving 50 today, and then they're going to different cities. What a great initiative! It's just so nice as it's so freezing out.
Well, but the problem is, if it had been a little bit warmer, just in the 30s, you would have an easier time finding these people. When it gets this cold, they disappear. They hunker down, and it's harder to find them. And maybe they know.
Maybe they'll go over to the TCF Center where the Pope Francis guests are, and they could distribute them there. I don't know how they'll do that. To be handed out with street medicine. Very rare. Street Medicine Detroit Street Outreach Team. What a nice thing. Oh, and they're going to travel in a Chevy Tahoe. How clever. Great marketing. Okay. So yeah, Jenna and Veronica. Let's see. Are the guests on the line, Danielle? Okay, so they should both be there. Jenna, yeah. And then I told Marie we're going to do the happiness conversation. We're going to be happy at 8:05.
Okay, excellent.
I sent her that little story too. Okay. I'll be back. Oh, they're both there too, Guy. Guess they're there.
This is hysterical. During the rain delay at Daytona yesterday, a bunch of guys jumped out of their race cars, jumped into their family cars, and went to the drive-thru to get food because the race had lasted so doggone long. They decided to go get food for their families.
Oh my God.
Can you imagine a guy in a fire suit pulling up to the McDonald's drive-thru window?
Hurry, get me a Big Mac.
Oh, I mean, the picture they tweeted out is hysterical.
It is hysterical. It's a cute story, actually.
Well, so if you do take a big hit, you know that your retirement is going to continue on. You can weather that storm because you position the portfolio properly. And if you've done that, you've gone a long ways to addressing the next emotion that we're going to talk about, which is fear. I call it sleeping with one eye open. And that's just no way to live a retirement. And the point is not to be too reactionary to every market movement that's out there.
And coming up tonight at 7 p.m. here on WJR on The Rich Paul Show, we'll be talking about the financial guessing game as well as going at it alone. So tune into The Rich Paul Show for that and much more tonight at 7 p.m. here on WJR for The Rich Paul Show.
Hi, folks. Craig Hubble, General Manager at Crestview Cadillac in Rochester. I'm determined to get you into a new Cadillac this month. You know, your safety is our top priority here. And I have a ton of 2021 Cadillacs in stock right now, and we'll deliver it to you sanitized. And my Crestview price will be unmatched. We're experts at employee pricing, and we pull ahead Cadillac leases every day. And you'll always get a Cadillac loaner here. Call us now, see us on Rochester Road or at CrestviewCadillac.com. You'll see the difference.
Tune in at 3 p.m. every Saturday for the Veterans Perspective with host MVAA Director Zenetta Adams. Presented by the Michigan Veterans Affairs Agency. Veterans Perspective, Saturdays at 3 on News Talk 760 WJR.
You know, our winter here in Detroit hasn't been too bad. But just because we weren't buried in snow and ice doesn't mean the cold weather wasn't tough on the roof of your
home.
home.
Has to be changed.
What is it?
When we say, Detroit's winter hasn't been too bad. We're heading into this cold snap. It's going to be god-awful.
Yeah, you're right.
We might want to tweak that copy.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's a good point because it's not nice. Like 17 and blowing snow.
Yeah, that's one of those when I'll yell back at my own radio and my own radio station and good friend Paul Davis Smith and say, the hell it isn't.
And don't forget to give back through Victor's program. For every 100 roofs Victor's installs, they'll donate a roof to a family in need. Schedule your free, no-obligation 21-point video inspection at 734-6666-914. Or go online at victorsroofing.com.
Help solve food insecurity in Michigan. Hear thought leaders from across the state on Food First Michigan with Dr. Phil Knight and Jerry Brisson. Sunday nights at 9 on WJR, presented by Farm Bureau Insurance of Michigan and the Food Bank Council of Michigan. Now back to more of the Paul W. Smith Show. Here's Guy Gordon.
Right now it's 10 degrees outside. As you look at the forecast for today, it will not get above 16. As you look at tomorrow, the high will be 18 at 1 p.m. And then at 10 p.m. tomorrow night, we hit the deep freeze into single-digit temperatures down to a goose egg, 0 degrees by this time Wednesday morning. So we are in for a bitter cold snap, and it is at times like these that our thoughts turn to the homeless in our community. And today's an important day to do that because Chevrolet is teaming up to basically do a road trip of sorts on behalf of the homeless. And they've teamed up with the Empowerment Plan to do that. So we welcome Jenna Young, who's General Motors Corporate Giving Executive, and also Veronica Scott, the CEO and founder of the Empowerment Plan. This is the group that hands out those incredibly innovative and wonderful sleeping bag coats. Jenna, Veronica, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Guys. Good morning.
Well, your timing, I guess, couldn't be better for this, or is it? When we see temperatures this cold and you're going to be hitting the streets to give out 50 of these sleeping bag coats to the area homeless. You're going to be doing it in 8 different cities. How hard does this kind of weather make it to be able to find the people that need these life-saving coats? Veronica, you're an expert at this.
Yeah, I think the thing that we do at Empowerment Plan is partner with nonprofits and organizations and street outreach teams across the nation. So, we are working with fantastic groups of people that know exactly where the individuals in need are. And really, this whole road trip is about saying thank you to those organizations, to give back to them, because they've been doing a lot of tough work this year.
Well, and Chevrolet's involvement in this is so important, and it's a statement, as we see from all of our automakers and their commitment to community. Jenna, how did General Motors come to be involved in this, and where will you be out on the streets along with Veronica and these other folks? What will Chevrolet's involvement be?
Well, this is a true partnership, and GM and Chevy have been a partner of Veronica's and the empowerment plans for about a decade, since Veronica really started, and we're really proud of that partnership. We've helped offset costs for the empowerment plan to the tune of about $1 million over that partnership. And this is just another awesome example of taking this incredible empowerment plan sleeping bag coat across the country and sharing with those in need during this, really rough time of winter.
Well, and it's funny. We've had so many mild winters over the past several years. This is when we've really moved into true Michigan winter, where it can be bitterly, bitterly cold. We should point out that in terms of Chevrolet's involvement, your partnership with Veronica's team isn't just about distribution. You also help with sourcing of material. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so these kinds of innovative partnerships are so important to GM and Chevy. For us, it's more than just grant funding. It's really an investment in our collective future and in society. And so we looked at a variety of ways to help Veronica, even way back when things were just starting out, in sourcing and repurposing headliners from vehicles. We even did an initiative in Flint to recycle water bottles and repurpose that for filling in the coats. So that's the kind of partnerships we look to enter in on. It's more than just monetary donations. It's how are ways we can get employees engaged and support in unique ways that are, special to us and critical for the organization.
Veronica, take me down memory lane here. How many years have you been doing this, and how many of these incredibly innovative and in many cases life-saving coats has your team manufactured, and how many have been distributed?
Well, thank you. It's been almost 10 years now, which is wild to think about. It started off as a class project at College for Creative Studies and has grown into something much bigger. As Jenna said, talking about kind of how important these partnerships have been along the way, we've been able to produce 50,000 coats and distribute them across. Yeah, we've been able to distribute them across the entire U.S. and now 20 other countries. And so this year we're actually we're distributing 10,000 coats this year alone. The need has been astronomical. Just because of everything that has happened with the pandemic and economic uncertainty. And we're going to be able to, on this road trip alone, do over 700 coats and get them into, communities like Chicago and New York and Louisville. So we'll be able to see the need firsthand.
Well, and I also see you're going to my old hometown in Grand Rapids, and West Michigan is one of those areas that quite often the recessions, they have such a diversified economy that the recessions aren't as deep. They tend not to think so much of the extreme poverty that we sometimes see in other areas of the state, and yet it's there. They just seem to have a way. It's just hidden because it isn't quite so overt. So I'm so glad that you're also going to be spreading it there. As you look back over this and remind folks that it's not just the people you're helping with the coat, it's the people that are sewing the coat that are helped as well.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. Really, we look at the coat as a vehicle to employ people. We're able to hire from incredible shelters across the city of Detroit and employ individuals that have been previously homeless, particularly with children, and they work with us for about 2 years before moving on into other jobs. And it's an incredible gift to be able to work with them and help support them in that journey and to find what's next. And, that's the thing that we've been able to see is that every person we hire moves out of the shelter within the first 4 to 6 weeks of working with us. And not a single person has fallen back into homelessness once we've hired them. And that's something we're really proud of. And I think that's
and you should
goes
be.
hand in hand.
I'm reminded that Chevy used to have a tagline called "The Road Ahead," and really what you're doing is providing a safer road in the present, but a better road in the future for a lot of the stakeholders in this empowerment process. Jenna, Veronica, thanks so much. They'll be handing out 500 coats over the next 3 weeks, and we certainly wish you well.
Thank you, guys.
Be safe out there, but you're going to be saving lives given the forecast that we've got here, and we can't thank you enough. Chevrolet, partnering with the Empowerment Plan. We'll be back with more on the Paul W. Smith Show. Consider this. It's Yale University's most popular course, and you can now take it for free. Fascinating course, and I've already enrolled. We'll tell you about it next on the Paul W. Smith Show. Let's get to Rich Lazinski, WJR Traffic First.
This report is sponsored by Compassion International.
It's a new year, but for kids in poverty around the world, things are still desperate. Join Compassion with your one-time $40 gift to provide a COVID relief kit to a family in poverty. Text the word GIVE to 83393. That's GIVE to 83393.
WJR Traffic First is sponsored by Marathon for commutes that feel like concerts, road trips that don't go as planned, or long drives that bring you closer together. Marathon is the
You must have some technical clothing if you're out walking.
Quality fuel through every mile. Fill up at Marathon.
Don't you have to be careful walking in the really, really cold? It's not terribly good for your arteries, I don't think.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so, but I got to tell you, just elevating the heart is good. I just worry about
To get on the treadmill.
especially over at Cranbrook, when they've had a thaw and then it refreezes. You're standing
Icy.
on snow, but there's ice below it, and God, it's a beautiful place to. We walk the dogs over there all the time,
Mm-hmm.
and and Gail went to school there and everything, so it's just kind of a special place. But it's just the woodsy areas are just so nice, and
It's gorgeous, yeah.
you can get away from the wind too, so you're not so exposed, which is great too. But it's a beautiful spot, and I'm glad the judge is enjoying it
Yeah.
today. I'll have to, you know what? I'm going to have to reach out to him and see if he and I can meet over there and just go for a walk together.
Oh, that's a nice
That'd
idea.
be fun because it's like, geez, dude, you're right next door.
Wait, how many dogs do you have?
Well, mine, and then my daughter's dog is kind of like half ours because she lived with us when Greer was living with us for a while. So I just, Holly is like,
She's yours now, too.
yeah, she's kind of like half ours. And so,
They're very quiet, though. They have not disrupted us at all.
Gail is the alpha. My dog never leaves Gail. She was trained as a seeing eye dog, and
Aw.
she's adopted Gail as her
Pal.
blind person, for lack of a better.
Per-
But yeah,
partner.
they're stuck like glue. I did see Marie's dog behind her, wandering around.
Yes, and
So-
her cat. Sometimes the cat comes.
You've got this beautiful. Is that a Howard Miller clock behind you?
I believe so, yes.
Is that a Michigan product?
Yes,
It's beautiful.
yep. We've had it for a long
I've got a
time.
lovely made in God knows where filing cabinet. I've got to do something to dress up my set here.
I've been thinking about that too, because all you see every day is the same thing. We could move
No, your
around our
set's
houses.
great. I mean, you've got but mine is just kind of this. I got some books back there.
How do we do what Rich does? Put those. I love Rich's
Well,
background.
there's the green screen function on this. If you go to camera mic, you can green screen it. I mean, I would have loved to have put a beach scene behind me today, but I thought, the day that I was talking about, we found a bobcat tracks up near our cottage up
Oh
north.
yeah, you talked about putting those cameras up to.
So we
funny.
did it. We put up the cameras.
You
It
guys
is
are crazy.
it is so much fun. So we got these two
see
trail
it?
cams up. In the middle of the night, we'll get these notices that the motion detector has been tripped on these cameras. I don't think we spent. I mean, it might have cost us $200, $300 to do this. We've already gotten so much entertainment out of it. But we looked at one of the cameras is trained out on the deck of the house. There's a deer standing on the deck.
Wow.
And we're kind of perched over a cliff, and it's kind of looking around and going, well, I can't get out of here. I don't see an exit. So it just leaps over the railing and to the cliff below. But I mean, they're so, nimble.
Yeah, they're amazing.
But it was just crazy to watch. And
Have you seen the bobcat?
We've not captured the bobcat yet. We've got a fox, most beautiful fox I've ever seen. The ones I've seen there in the summer have been kind of mangy. This thing, it looked huge, and it wasn't a coyote. There's no question it was a fox from the markings, but it was really cool. We used to have so much fun. So we get up in the morning and we check our phones to see if there's been anything on. We have noticed that they've been eating the landscape up there.
Yeah, of course.
Wonderful.
And, wait, I thought maybe you'd go up there this weekend, but you didn't. You stayed back.
No, first of all, I told you I crashed my car. Well, the car wasn't ready yet, so.
I didn't know you crashed your car.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
My best friend and I. It was right after New Year's,
Mm.
and there's a road leading to Petoskey, and we hit the top of it in the middle of a snow squall. We didn't realize that we were at the top of the hill.
Oh.
And so we hit it probably 30 miles an hour. We slid probably 0.2 of a mile all the way down this hill.
Oh.
Across US 31.
Oh.
At 2:00 in the afternoon. So there was plenty of traffic. Didn't hit anybody. But the antique store that's at the end of that road has had so many people plow into their little building that they put a giant boulder in front of it. So we hit the boulder. Fortunately, I got the car turned around going butt first. So we hit it in reverse, which means much less damage to the car and us. We weren't harmed at all. But it took, well, I'm going to be shaming Allstreet here on an open channel. It took them 3 weeks to approve the claim.
Oh, wow.
And so I should have had my car back in 3 weeks. It's been, it happened January 4th.
Thank God you're okay. That's really scary.
Oh, I was so lucky. Me and my
so it was
best
like
buddy.
pure ice, in other words.
Just sheer ice.
And so when you hit that, you just went, woo,
yeah.
like
every
you had
local
no control.
knows it, but I'm never up there in the winter. This is the first time we've gone up in the winter in decades.
And how did you know, like, how did you keep it from going into the forest? And like, how did you keep the car under somewhat control?
Because of the electronic steering now, it does such a great job of anti-skid that I couldn't stop it, but I could steer it.
Okay. And you didn't lose it. You kept yourself calm.
No, and when I lost my back end, I was able to keep it straight in reverse. And in fact, I almost missed the boulder. I only hit this much of it. So I was really lucky. But so we didn't go up this weekend because the car wasn't done. It was also going to be temps in the single digits. And because Dad wasn't doing very well, I thought I may have to hop on a plane really quickly to get down there.
Right.
You just
better to stick close. All right, here's Riri.
Hi, Guy. It was your dad who was not doing well over the weekend.
Yeah.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, we're in a really bad spot with him. He's responding to treatment, but up here he still just doesn't have the awareness, so he can't help with his own care.
That's so hard.
And we've been lucky. We've had him at home for all this time, and we have home health care now with him, and was working really well. But if the ladies that take care of him can't get him out of the bed and into his wheelchair because he's still a big guy. He's 200 pounds. He's not one of those little frail 96-year-old guys that just is a wisp of a thing. He is solid.
Well, he did well for so long.
Oh yeah, and I mean he was still working out a year ago. He was still getting on his new life machine and going at it, and I mean that's why he's still alive.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah, even the little people are hard to.
Someone to walk me through all my options.
We can do that too. Our team knows Ford inside and out, and they're always ready to answer your questions.
No wonder Pat Milliken Ford won the 2021 Consumer Satisfaction Award from Dealer Rater.
We're always vehicle for your needs and budget.
Start your experience online at patmillikenford.com or visit the dealership on Telegraph Road.
Pat Milliken Ford, over 60 years of the experience you deserve.
The Paul W. Smith Show, News Talk 760, WJR.
The funny things that
Special
catch your
guest host, Guy Gordon.
the funny things that catch your eye when you're cruising around looking at newspapers for a living all day long. Yale University is taking its most popular course and putting it online for free. But what makes it so intriguing is the fact that it was the most popular course at Yale. It has nothing to do with the study of law, the study of medicine, any of philosophy, history, none of the normal core academics that you would think. It is a class, Anne and Marie, about well-being, the science of happiness, and how to be a happier person. When they opened it up, they had a spate of depressive incidents on campus and thought this might be an interesting thing. They were overwhelmed by how many students signed up for it.
It's a great idea, isn't it?
I found it interesting even that they would offer this kind of class, because I've read in the past that people who, number one, people who have a faith life or participate in organized religion are generally happier. And I don't know, is this the reason that this is happening, is because maybe more people are moving away from organized religion? I don't know. I think it's kind of a...
Well, that's why I thought it was, that I wanted to talk with the two of you about this. How did we get to a point where we forgot or didn't teach our kids, or that, how did we get to the point that we need a class to teach us the science of happiness? And not to say that we all can't work on making ourselves happier and more productive and maybe be more introspective and not learning to sweat the small stuff, and it's all small stuff. Why is it that kids today may feel that like they don't have those life skills to both cope and be happy?
That's a good question. I think social media plays a big role in this.
I couldn't agree more.
You know, I think that you're constantly on your phone and you're communicating with people online, and we all know, and this is particularly tough this year and last year because of COVID, but we all need each other. You know, we need to communicate and be together and hug each other and go and do things together, like take a walk or go to the store or go out to eat. So we're in a really tough time. So I'm not entirely sure, but I do think social media plays a role.
Also, I think for younger people, their image of self comes from what's being fed to them in social media. So, you know, girls especially who post pictures of themselves and get criticized, suddenly that becomes their measure of self-worth is through that. And I think that's the biggest danger of all. And I don't know, as a parent, Anne and I, and you too, Guy, our kids are older and did not experience that really as much as people who have younger kids right now. I don't know how we would have handled that as parents.
And yet the one thing that I keep seeing is the parents that taught their kids to compare themselves to others and to judge themselves based on material things that other people had. Designer shoes, designer jeans, those kids are the ones that are having more difficulty being happy. That when I was struck by someone we were talking to the other day who said their daughter is, you know, facing off with a lot of challenges in her life, but what was really making her upset was when she went to drop off that she wasn't driving a fancy car. And it's like, you gotta, the comparing of yourself to others, that is just a road where you will never be happy. There will someone always be, and it's not about the stuff.
You're
and so,
absolutely
you know,
right.
So it was interesting. They have you self-evaluate when you take this class, and I signed up for it and went through some of it last night. Here's some of the questions that they ask you. How often do you find yourself joyful? How often do you find yourself anxious? How lonely do you feel in your daily life? And this was an interesting one that I thought could have been insightful. How often do you lose track of time while you're doing something you enjoy? In other words, the idea that you can break away from the daily challenges, that you will allow yourself to get lost and distracted. Do you allow yourself to break away from the demands of life?
That's a good question. What about gratitude? Is there any talk about gratitude in this class?
Nailed it. So I knew you wouldn't need to take this, Anne. Yeah, that is actually segment 2. Is they have a whole thing in there about gratitude.
The gratitude journal. I mean, those are for real. Those really do work.
But it was interesting when they started measuring groups about which groups are the happiest or the most unhappy. And, how long has Cosmo and different magazines been grabbing you with that headline in the checkout line, right? Who's happier? But they said that, and it's sad, recent college graduates are among the top segment of our population that are just terribly unhappy. And we're now prescribing antidepressants at 4 times the rate that we were 20 years ago. And chemicals are not going to necessarily fix this. And so I love the idea that what they do is they tell you about how to rewire yourself to quit these self-defeating habits, like comparing yourselves, like saying, I don't have this, instead of being grateful for what you do have. I don't know that maybe it's that scientific, but I'm interested to kind of take the journey here, because it's about 30 minutes per class. So twice a week, you spend an hour doing this.
So how long does the class last, Guy?
It looks to me like it's about 10 weeks, twice a week. So it's an hour a week, so 10 hours total.
Is there homework and any tests?
There can be as much homework as you like. I mean, there's not even required reading. It's really more about, you fill out some of these surveys, it's introspection, but then they also tell you about, here's part of the science that we've learned. The people that are happiest do this. So it is fact-based, it is science, but it's also, it's working on yourself. The only problem is I don't know how honest people are in the self-evaluation process.
There's the key, right?
Be
honest with yourself.
But it's at Coursera, Coursera, and see if it's something that you might want to try. I mean, it's not a huge investment in time, and maybe if you learn a little something here, a trick there, who doesn't want to be happier? We'll find out if you're going to be very happy when you go out on the roads on this holiday. Can't guarantee that, and there is no science to it, but Rich Lazinski will prepare us for it. Here he is.
This report is sponsored by SmartMouth, the only 24-hour mouthwash with twice daily use. There's nothing that'll scare your hot date away faster than bad breath. Luckily, SmartMouth mouthwash has got your...
To what extent do you lead a purposeful and meaningful life? That was the hardest question for me, if you were going to be introspective about it, because first of all, I'm not really sure what a purposeful life is, and how do you define meaning. I find it meaningful that I can help my parents and my in-laws. I find it meaningful that I'm, can be a part of my granddaughter's life.
Yeah.
But
and
on that
meaningful
scale,
that you can be a talk show host and talk about really interesting issues that affect and impact people every day, all day long. I mean, you can really make a difference.
That I think all of us share at least that, right? That we're grateful for the jobs that we have, that what we get to do for
what we say, it makes a difference. We can really help people.
Well, and there's a relevancy to it and a currency to it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you make people think a little bit differently about something, if you can kind of give the other side of it, or
Yes.
What about like doing things for others? The whole service.
I haven't gotten to that yet, but you got to know that that's a huge part of it. That it's not about the I, it's about the we.
Yeah.
And so it's very interesting. I just think the fact that Yale, I mean, I've got this, Laurie Santos is her name, that was the one of the, now they have like 100 people involved in the research of this. It's become kind of taken on a life of its own. But the fact that they did see a need, and think of the hyper-competitive atmosphere on a college like Yale University.
It's a great idea, though.
I don't know if you guys can see my mug here, what it says. Let me
turn it around the other way.
There it is.
Grateful. Amen.
You know what? I just saw a documentary with Dylan. You remember Dylan Klebold, one of the Columbine shooters? His mother has gone on a campaign since that's happened on mental health. And I watched this documentary on Netflix. The takeaway on it was that there's a movement in the country where, you know how there was a push for physical health. We have to be, physically fit, physically fit, physically fit. Well, now the push is on to be mentally fit, to teach children at a very, very young age how to handle their emotions, how to deal with disappointment, how to express disappointment, happiness, joy, anger, so that we learn to deal with our emotions and be better mentally to handle the world ahead of us. It was so interesting. And
She's an amazing woman.
Oh, it changed my whole attitude about all of that. I mean, I've always known it was important, but I didn't know as a parent what you could do for your child. It was quite excellent. Have you interviewed her, Guy?
No, but I've
Yeah.
watched the same
Oh, you
YouTube
did see
speech.
it.
She did a TED Talks.
She did. I
That
saw
if you get
TED
a
Talk.
chance,
I
it's
saw it.
amazing. And I got to tell you, those little TED Talks podcasts are great when you're going up north or you're commuting because they're just so fascinating. But she, the hard part is we all want our kids to excel. So we tell them we want you to be the best. But that's an unattainable goal. You're never going to be the absolute best at anything. But we want you to, it's the aspirational part, right? And yet, so imagine these Yale University kids who are at the most prestigious school. You know that their parents and they themselves had to drive themselves silly to even get there.
Right.
SAT,
you know what?
ACT.
We have to call this next guest. Okay,
And I'm
I'm
gonna
on it.
dial up. I'll see you in a few.
We may need you here.
If we don't have Rob Weinhold.
Yeah, I'm gonna have 443.
All right, I have to very quickly take care of something. I'll be right back.
Okay, go.
I got 60.
Yeah. 0765.
Because you never know where life is going to take you. For quality fuel through every mile, fill up at Marathon.
Here's a taste of what you missed the last time on The Rich Paul Show.
What if you crash with your portfolio? In other words, it crash and burns. I call it in my book, bulletproofing your portfolio. So in other words, you can handle a head-on and still survive with your portfolio. So if you do take a big hit, you know that your retirement is going to continue on. You can weather that storm because you position the portfolio properly. And if you've done that, you've gone a long ways to addressing the next emotion that we're going to talk about, which is fear. I call it sleeping with one eye open. And that's just no way to live a retirement. And the point is not to be too reactionary to every market movement that's out there.
And coming up tonight at 7 p.m. here on WJR.
Back. Thank you.
Just real quick, remember we have to. Hopefully the guest is there because we only have him till 8:22.
Okay.
This is that one, so this will be short.
Right.
Okay, hang on.
Now back to more of the Paul W. Smith Show. Here's Guy Gordon.
Well, we saw a lot of people trying to play leadership roles over the weekend in this impeachment hearing, and now we have the specter of Democrats trying to use other avenues to effectively neuter the president, former President Trump, from ever holding office in the future, including the use of the 14th Amendment. Wanted to check in with a very interesting gentleman. He is a crisis leadership specialist and chief executive of the Falston Group. We welcome Rob Weinhold to the Paul W. Smith Show. Hi, Rob.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I know we've only got you for a few minutes, but I just wanted to, as a leadership expert, we saw people trying to provide leadership in defense of a man that they deeply believe in, that being Donald Trump. We saw Democrats trying to employ what they believed was moral leadership and ethical leadership here in getting accountability for what they saw as wrongdoing. On the leadership continuum, were there any standouts over this weekend?
Well, I mean, the bottom line is the impeachment effort to hold Trump accountable for attempting to overthrow the election, the insurrection, absolutely unsuccessful. And I think many want to continue efforts to hold him accountable and prevent him from ever being in public office again. No surprise there. But the acquittal in the impeachment trial this past weekend was unusual, I think, to say the least, highlighted by the potential calling of witnesses on Saturday. Certainly seemed like Congress was on the clock with the holiday and the break in front of them. So I don't think a prolonged trial with calling numerous witnesses was in anyone's interest and certainly could serve as a major distraction. generally, I would say that many believe firm accountability is required, no matter what the cost. Others believe that elected officials should focus on the work in front of them and not look in the rear view Trump mirror. I think either way, it's very tough for any elected leader to shed the outward belief that their stance is not politically motivated. And so politics is alive and well. And I think many Americans have reached a point of exhaustion. Divisiveness is exhausting. And I go back to this. I believe most Americans want Congress, now that the impeachment proceedings are over, to hyper-focus on the pandemic, a solid relief package, vaccine availability, equitable vaccine distribution. I mean, you have a virus variant that continues to pose great risk to many people as we in America approach 500,000 deaths in the U.S., obviously, and 2.5 million globally. So the economy, the job market, this newly discovered cyber attack, trying to get after our intel community and Biden's agenda is in the balance. And so from a crisis leadership perspective, I can think of nothing more important right now that will ultimately boost reputational equity than to provide that unity that President Biden spoke about and finding the middle ground with the pandemic relief package, and very quickly.
And yet we have those on the Democrat side and some of those on the Republican side saying we need a 9/11 commission to get to the bottom of this. That will seem to perpetuate the discord. We've also got some saying we need to employ the 14th Amendment to purge President Trump from ever being able to hold elective office. And that feels like a square peg in a round hole. The 14th Amendment was generated to keep Confederate officers from participating in the new Union government. What do you think about that?
Yeah,
and is that
it does
appropriate
seem like-
leadership?
Well, I tell you, all this is coming together, whether it's a 9/11 type commission, criminal charges, civil lanes may be open, but Section 3 of the 14th Amendment apparently disqualifies any enemy of the Constitution of the United States from holding state or federal office if that person, as a public official, has previously taken an oath to support the Constitution. So verbiage like given aid or comfort to enemies are coming forth. And so I go back to, are people exhausted by this? I go back to, some factions want firm accountability no matter what the cost. Others want to move on and want Congress to focus on the business of the American people, particularly during a crisis as widespread as this pandemic, with many people dying on a daily basis.
No, I think the exhaustion is on both sides, and yet there is this idea that politically there is to be something gained by doing it, and therefore it's as if they can't help themselves, even though they know that America is exhausted and wants to move on. Mr. Weinhold, we know you got to get moving to another engagement, but we appreciate you dropping in.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
You know, and the idea about leadership is something that is going to be, I think, a topic of any new election going forward in 2022, which is not so much did President Trump incite the riot, but did he provide leadership while it was happening? And that is going to, by a number of accounts, especially within Republican circles, that's something that concerns them, because that seems to be an argument that has some traction amongst the moderates, Republicans. You can call them rhinos if you want to, but those that maybe weren't crazy about Donald Trump but would like to get back to the conservative Republican values, but are looking for a way to do that. One of the other stories that we had hoped to bring you today, and we weren't able to connect with Warren Evans, is this notion that Wayne County and some other areas are getting shorted on vaccines. That the formula that the state is using at the behest of the federal government to distribute the vaccines that we have is really leaving some areas of our community short. For instance, suburban communities make up 1.1 million of Wayne County's 1.7 million residents. Detroit has just over 600,000. Yet Detroit is getting twice as many vaccine doses as out County Wayne. Even though it accounts for basically only 1/3 of the population of Wayne County at large. Where's the fairness in that? Where's the medical sense in that? And it's this notion that, you know, this formula that's out there, the folks in Wayne County have been trying to divine what it is and why it is that they feel shorted. And it does have to do with hospitalizations, the number of elderly people you have, what their vulnerability is in terms of poverty. and whether or not that fits the formula. But if you were looking at it just on a per capita basis, we can certainly understand why Warren Evans and others are saying, hey, wait a minute. We've got a huge number of these people, and yet we're only getting half the doses of Detroit, but they're 1/3 of our population. It doesn't make a lot of sense. And when he tried to engage officials at the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services over what he saw as a disparity, they talked for a long time, and at the end, he didn't feel that they still recognized that there was disparity. So it is an ongoing problem that they're continuing to fight with Wayne County. By the way, Nolan Finley's got a great column on it in the Detroit News. We had already talked about it on our show about a week ago when this first raised its head. But we thought it was being resolved with some of the conversations that were going on. It's apparent that it hasn't been. And it's an ongoing catalyst for strife, to be sure. Much more on the Paul W. Smith Show. We're delighted you can hang with us on this snowy Monday morning. Let's check in with Rich Lazinski. WJR Traffic first.
This report is sponsored by SmartMouth, the only 24-hour mouthwash with twice daily use. Stay fresh out there with SmartMouth Mouthwash, the only mouthwash that provides 24 hours of fresh breath with twice daily
some
use.
of you on Facebook
So whatever
have
the
reached
day may
out.
bring, you can
Patrick,
stay sunny with a side
you
of...
say that you get squirrels and feral cats on your ring cam. So there are two cameras that I've got experience with, and my son is a technology writer, so I kind of get the first look at some of the new stuff that's out there. The two cameras that we've used for these trail cams are ReoLink, R-E-O Link, and SimpliSafe. And SimpliSafe, it's kind of a do-yourself security system, and it's really, really good. We've had success with it just in terms of being able to keep an eye on, for instance, whether or not the driveway got plowed at our place up north. Just to check in and make sure. We've also got now these wireless thermostats. We can check and make sure that the heat's okay and the pipes aren't freezing. But this cam, and it's great because it hangs, it pivots. So you've got almost 360 degrees of range, probably more like 270, because whatever you're hanging it on gets in the way. But it's been so much fun to position that thing. And we watched in real time as the deer were devouring some of our shrubs up there. I didn't realize till we were watching it that there's a microphone on it. You can key the microphone. And I said to the deer, "Hey guys," and they were like, "What the heck is that?" And then they ran away. So we saved a little bit of the landscape too. So you can, it can be fun. But we found out that it wasn't that expensive, but it's been neat. And if we catch the bobcat on camera, it will be really, really cool. Oh, hard to believe that the morning is almost over.
Hey, Guy, I'm going to bring in our next guest, William Wood. He's on StreamYard. Hi, William.
Wonderful.
Good
Well,
morning.
hi, William.
How are you guys doing?
We're
We're doing
thank
great.
you.
We just wanted to check your line and make sure you sound good. You sound great.
Well, I hope I do.
Yeah, you sound wonderful. Thanks for doing this.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So this is kind of a cool event that's coming up.
Yes, we're pretty excited about being able to do these.
How popular are they? Do people love them?
So far, we've done a couple, and we've gotten a really great response on the two public ones we're doing. We're actually doing some education series videos, virtual events online, and they've been wildly popular. We've had about 20,000 kids take advantage of our virtual pieces that we're doing.
So how big are these drums? Because on the stuff that I'm seeing online, they look like they're huge.
They're everything from drums that people can carry to big ones that are on carts that they have to pull while they play. So they're all different sizes.
Okay, this is fascinating.
How do you say it? Is it Kodo?
Kodo, yes.
Kodo Japanese drumming. And it starts today?
It starts today. If people register today, they can go literally right online as soon as they register, or as soon as they purchase their admission. They can go online and watch it all week.
How many? Here we are leaving the interview in the locker room.
It's so interesting. I can't help it.
I do this. I do this to myself all the time. Yeah, I'm just curious, how many different live events, or virtual events, have you been able to do?
Well, we've done 2 live public events, and we've done several education events. The education events have been online over a period of time, not just one time watching. So we've been doing events starting in October. We started doing some online events.
When do you think you'll be able to go back to in person?
Oh, isn't that the answer everybody's looking for? We're
I
just
miss live performances and
oh,
live.
so do we. We're just watching it and just making sure we're prepared that when we can go back to live performances, we're ready to do that as quickly as possible.
You're so clever to do this, though. It seems like the people that succeed during the pandemic are the people that do things like this.
Well, it's we not only want to justify why we're here, but the arts are that important to us to get out to people in any way possible.
Mm-hmm.
So we did a parking lot performance this summer. We've done a couple of other experimental kinds of things, but this seems to be the way it's getting the best response from the public.
Mm-hmm. It's really smart. Really smart.
Well, nice to have someone think I'm really smart, I guess.
Well, if you can't be smart, be interesting, and you're both. So there you go.
What is the red-green thing? If the girls don't find you if the girls don't find you handsome, they better find you handy.
That's
funny.
I found out over the weekend that my son hung a new light fixture in his bathroom. He wired it himself. He mounted it himself. I was so proud of him. He says, "I'll never do it again. I've never been so frustrated in my life." I said, "God, here I am so proud of you that you're doing all this DIY stuff that I thought I did a pretty good job of teaching you to do."
Are you a do-it-yourselfer guy?
I'll do a lot of it if I have the time. Yeah. Okay. I try to do that. I've been doing a lot with my son-in-law down at my daughter and son-in-law have a new house. And it's an oldie but a goodie. It's one of those things where it's a little bit like saying, yeah, she's got a great personality. That's kind of like this house. This house is run down, okay? I mean, it is just got, but they say, well, it has good bones. Yeah, well, the rest of it isn't very pretty.
Like, would you redo a kitchen if you had time?
We just redid the kitchen.
Are you kidding?
Yeah, we did. We installed the sink, put in new countertops, went to Lowe's, got that. They've got, everything you need there. And we got some great butcher block countertops that then, and I let Christopher do it, but it was we were trying to fit it in the old spot where the sink had been. So it had to be cut perfectly. So you've got a $400 piece of wood and you've got to cut the sink hole just right. And
that would be a lot of stress.
He did a great job. And the good news is I don't have those big meaty athletic hands like he has, so I could actually get my hands up into the thing so we could reef it down and get the clamps put in.
So you really know what you're doing.
Fun.
This is impressive.
Well, and the best part is we get to hang out with the granddaughter who, you can't get too frustrated because then you get a chance to look at Lucy and she's adorable. So it's good.
She wouldn't appreciate a lot of swearing and screaming and that, that kind of thing.
Fortunately, she's not old enough to understand, so there probably was a little bit of profanity involved. Yeah, we are getting to the point where that won't be a good thing.
Oh, that's so funny. So I have Marie here too. I could pop Marie in. Marie loves the arts. She's got the beautiful voice and. Here, I'll put her in here with you guys. Marie.
Hi, gang.
Hi, Marie. This is William Wood from the Macomb Center for Cultural Affairs and Community Engagement.
Hi, William. Hi.
Good morning, Marie.
I was just singing your praises about your beautiful voice and how much you love the arts.
Until jackpot.
By the way, William, while I've got you here, just very quickly, this new Reconnect program, is Macomb Community College going to benefit from that?
We're not sure yet, but we're certainly hoping that we can.
Now back to more of the Paul W. Smith Show.
I think some of that's still been worked out.
Hold that thought. Welcome back, everybody. We know that as we try to engage in our community, it's just so doggone hard because we're all socially distanced, we're all wearing masks, and usually a lot of our institutions are shut down to the public. That doesn't mean, though, that we can't celebrate the performing arts and engage in some of the cultural things that are out there. We can do a lot of these things virtually. We're joined by William Wood, who's the Director of Cultural Affairs and Community Engagement at Macomb Community College. Maria's here as well. And Mr. Wood, you've got something coming up at Macomb Community College and at this Macomb Center for Performing Arts that's going to be kind of cool. Tell us about it.
Yes, Guy, thank you for having me. We are starting today a week-long run of the Kodo Drummers from Sado Island, Japan. And that will be, people can go on our website and get a ticket for it, and they can watch it anytime all week, or they can watch it several times all week. And then on Friday, we're going to have a live Q&A with a drummer in the group that's a native of Royal Oak. His name is Rotario Leo Akanaga. And so he'll be doing a live Q&A with people who want to learn more about what they just saw or learn more about Japanese drumming in general.
Now, it's interesting you say that these individuals are drummers on an island. Were they sent there because they're just too doggone noisy? Have they been punished? Have they been exiled?
I don't think that's the case, but certainly one could wonder if there's also an island of bagpipers somewhere.
Yeah, very true. Because Marie, I remember when my kids were drumming on things. There were days I wished there was an island that I could have sent them to where they could have drummed to their heart's content.
Yeah, the last thing you ever want to give a kid for a gift is a set of drums. But these are exceptional drummers, of course. William, aren't you amazed at how artists have really changed and met the challenge of the pandemic in terms of their performance? I'm seeing all kinds of things online, and this in particular is just another chapter in that story.
I think it's positively amazing how artists have responded to not being able to be live on stage in front of an audience. Everything from things you see with single artists just going online with a guitar to things like this where they're actually mounting productions and putting them online now. It's pretty amazing what's happening.
And we should point out these Kodo drummers. I mean, this is a spectacle because in many cases these drums are the size of a car.
Yes, they're huge. They go everything from small to huge. And this is very much a ceremonial, almost a spiritual type of thing that they do. It's a ceremony. It's not just drumming, but a full ceremony that they're enacting through the drumming.
And William, I also have to think that with kids being at home having to do a lot of virtual learning, they're not getting a lot of the enrichment courses they would get if they were in a classroom. So what a great idea to maybe tune into something like this if you're schooling your kids at home and you get to talk to the artist, one of your local artists right here.
Absolutely. We're also doing virtual presentations just for kids in classrooms and people that are doing online virtual learning because they have to. We've been doing those since October. We've already had about 20,000 kids do those classes and events, and they're designed for specific kids and with curriculum in mind so the teacher can use them as an extension of their teaching.
So if we want to engage our kids or ourselves, it's going to be a snowy day. Maybe seeing some ceremonial drumming will be a nice distraction from just how cold it is out there. How do we go about it, William? Do we have to sign on to your website, and are there tickets involved?
You can go onto our website. It's macombcenter.com. You do have to purchase a ticket for Kodo drumming. Our educational series is free to anyone, but you do have to register. But you can go on our website. It's all right there. You can connect, and we'll get you set up right away.
And we should point out and recognize the sponsors here who have made this possible. First State Bank, Hennessy's Pub and Kitchen, and Academy for Early Achievers, who have been good enough to provide some of the financial resources to put this online.
Absolutely. Though, our sponsors have been great about staying with us through all this whole pandemic and still supporting, things like this. And that's how we can bring those free things, our free educational things are because of these wonderful sponsors that we have that continue to support the center.
Just for those that may have just tuned in, what other kinds of activities are you generating online that people could take part in if they want to visit your center virtually?
Well, we've got the performances. We also have connections to other cultural entities within the state. So we're trying to act as a kind of a storehouse of that kind of information. We're also through the Lorenzo Center, which is the other half of what we do at lorenzocenter.com, is we are doing a program series called Deliciously Michigan that will be starting at the end of the month, where people can go on and learn about those foods and those things that are very synonymous, very unique to Michigan.
And William, I'm curious, as we peek and creak that door open just a little bit to getting our lives back to normal, what are you doing to prepare for the day when you can actually welcome a real live audience back into your venue, and we as paying patrons can enjoy once again live performances?
Well, we've been doing a lot of evaluating of how we do things, how we interact with our customers. So we're making sure that from the minute you buy a ticket to the minute you go through the door, that you're going to be safe and healthy. Just as safe and healthy when you leave as when you get there. So we're putting in some touchless ticketing items. We're revamping our cleaning protocols so that we are being sure that we are cleaning constantly, even while people are in the building. And we're working on how we do the social distancing correctly. So we're going to have a whole new set of protocols and a whole new set of cleaning regimen that we're working on to ensure the safety and the health of anyone that comes into one of our venues.
William Wood, we thank you so much. It is so important that we stay reconnected to the community, and this is a great way to do it in terms of being exposed to the many cultural initiatives that you expose us to at Macomb Community College. Do go to the MaccombCenter.com, MaccombCenter.com. Tickets available for Kodo, Japanese drumming, but also all the other things that they are offering us through the Macomb Center for the Performing Arts. Thanks so much, William.
Thank you, Guy. Thank you, Marie.
Thank you.
Take care. When we come back, we'll check in with Chris Renwick as he gets ready to take the helm of the Frank Beckman Show. You're on News Talk 760 WJR. Here's Rich Lazinski, WJR Traffic First.
This report is sponsored by Indeed.com. With Indeed, there's no waiting for real
Catherine
results.
says
Indeed
that
searches
Marie
through
has
the
the
millions
most
of resumes
beautiful
in their
voice in
database
radio,
to deliver
and
great
she's
candidates
right.
who fit your job description instantly. Claim your $75.
You're muted, Ann.
I totally agree with Catherine on that. She has a beautiful radio voice, and she also has a beautiful singing voice.
I don't think I've ever heard her sing.
It's beautiful.
I would think so.
She sings in the choir at Holy Name.
By the way, I still resent the hell out of the fact that she's working for you guys in the morning and not with me in the afternoon anymore. Just saying.
You have a lot of anger.
While I got you here, I just want to, in front of God and everybody, wage my formal complaint. We love Kenny, but we miss Marie too.
She does a really nice job, doesn't she? And she's very fun to talk to. She's always got something interesting to chat about.
Well, that's the thing that I've missed the most about. I love working from home, and I've told you.
It's the best.
First of all, the men's room is right next door.
And so is the food,
which is very important. Yes.
Oh.
Yes, I'm never far from the bar at quitting time when I sign off at 5:00. It's the fact that I can't drift down to the newsroom and engage Dick and Marie and Chris once upon a time in conversation and just kind of had those newsroom moments that you and I have been experiencing for 40 years.
I know. Yeah, that is true. That is something that I miss too. But I kind of like the ability to do this in the winter from home. Driving down to the Fisher Building at 3:30 in the morning on a day like today is dicey.
Yeah, and dangerous, and
very dangerous.
And you know what? Unnecessary now.
Yes.
Those are days that we could have a better way of doing this. So
yes, yeah. So hopefully, and I think a lot of people are experiencing that in all kinds of businesses. You of course want to do a lot of stuff back in person, and you should. But there are other times when you don't really need to do that anymore. There's a better way. It's more productive. Oh, and now here comes our friend Chris. I told Chris to please come on StreamYard, and there he is.
She threatened me. She threatened me. She said, if you don't do StreamYard with us.
I had to put my foot down and get tough about this.
I've got to raise my StreamYard game and get a mic flag and a mic, and I love my little headset.
Did you see him? Well, the other day he had Jake sitting there, his little Jake, his son Jake.
Yeah.
He's already training Jake at 2 to be a talk show host.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's no better career to go into than radio. I feel like that we're just steering him in the proper direction. That's all.
We were discussing that earlier. We had a segment, Chris, about this Yale University course that you can take online now for free, and it's the science of well-being, about how to be happy. And Marie and Ann and I were all saying, the crazy thing is we've never known a day where we weren't happy in our jobs. Not to say that it doesn't stress the hell out of you sometimes.
Sure.
But there wasn't a day when we said, boy, I'd really rather be doing something else.
No, it's true.
And now my career has had 5 different iterations, from news to live in the D. It's crazy the different, the auto show, all the crazy things I've done. But I've never once said, God, I'd love to give all this up to. It's going to make retirement hard.
Sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think the one of the alluring parts of this job, and certainly as your time, as a reporter or as an anchor, I mean, you get to tell some incredible stories, and you are kind of the conduit of in the community and telling these people's stories that they, they're cherished to a certain extent. And yeah, it's stressful. But also we have a responsibility to bring the people some information to keep them informed. So it's an important job. But I don't know that there's many times that we wish we didn't do it.
No, it's funny. And people will ask you, well, of all the movers and shakers, you get to talk to so many important people. Who's the most impressive person you've ever talked to? And I said, it's never the movers and shakers.
Right, yeah.
We love all the movers and shakers that come on the show and everything. But I mean, if you're a street reporter, and Ann, you know this from your years of working the street as a reporter, it's the everyday folks that blow your mind.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like Veronica from the Empowerment Plan, who was just someone that saw a need and then creates this coat that turns into a sleeping bag and saves people's lives. Those are amazing people to meet.
Yeah.
You're totally right. She is amazing. I mean, what she's done. And now they're going to travel around the country and deliver 700 coats. Wow.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Mm-hmm. Good story.
There are colorful characters you cover. I mean,
Brooks Patterson was colorful.
Brooks Patterson, Coleman Young,
comes to mind,
or even better yet, Coleman Young and Brooks Patterson together up at Mackinac.
Yes.
Oh,
that was priceless.
That was, that you'd buy a ticket to see that. I mean, those were colorful, interesting characters that have.
Brooks Patterson making fun of Kwame Kilpatrick at Mackinac. There's some really extraordinary moments.
Well, just day in and day out with Coleman was fun.
Yes.
And
when I covered his press conferences, though, I was very young at the time. I was really afraid of him, Guy.
He's an intimidating presence.
I mean, if you said something wrong, he would really bite at you.
So my first day on the job was we'd had 3 school shootings in Detroit in 3 days.
Outdoor performance from Sado Island.
And he was going to announce a crime summit to address the issue a month later. I said, Mr. Mayor, we've had 3 kids shot in 3 days. A month? That'd be 30 more kids. And he just looked at me and said,
now back to more
again,
of
who
the
the heck are you?
Here's Guy Gordon.
Oh, reliving some memories about our days in the media here while we were off the air, which is, if you get a chance to tune in on StreamYard, we get to tell a lot of tales, tall tales. Joined by Chris Renwick, who's going to be sitting in for Frank today. And, you and I have been talking about this day in and day out, Chris, about whether to bring up impeachment, because it is such a tired, familiar, and sometimes pointless exercise, whether people are even watching. Did you get a chance to see some of the drama over the weekend about whether to call witnesses or not call witnesses?
Well, sure, because I'm a glutton for punishment, apparently.
Well, I understand that. We kind of have to do this for work. Yeah.
No, I think it's a good question you ask. I would imagine that the viewership numbers would be down. I think the fact that impeachment has become a readily used tool is sad, and I don't know that people really want to subscribe to it, or at least a faction of people. And then, I mean, there are so many implications. Like, you've got Lindsey Graham saying, I understand why Mitch McConnell said what he said afterwards, but now he's just put such a strain on Republicans, especially coming up to 2022. And while he's right, I think
wait. Do you think he's right? Because I've got to. No, I don't think. I think of in the universe of sound bites that candidates are going to have to own up to or react to, Mitch McConnell's speech is so far down on the list that they're going to get hit with. If you're running for office, you're going to be asked about what President Trump said, the notion of the stolen election. That's going to be the litmus test, not whether Mitch McConnell pitched a fit on a Saturday afternoon.
I hear you, but you don't think you're going to hear those Mitch McConnell sound bites in your campaign ads in late 2021, early 2022? I absolutely think so.
I don't think so at all. I think Mitch McConnell is not that relevant to a lot of people. I think it's going to be more of where was President Trump from 1:15 on that afternoon until the next day? What do you think about his leader? It's still going to be about Trump, not about Mitch McConnell.
But I think the interesting, specifically on Mitch McConnell, I think the interesting part is what he said actually was kind of right in terms of we're not going to impeach now a citizen.
Right.
It's not in our Constitution to do that. We're not England. England can they can impeach private citizens. We don't do that here.
Well, we can. I mean, there's still the House management, and you look at the history. We have in the past. Doesn't mean just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Correct. But I think in terms of what they're going to do now, the impeachment's behind us, right? We knew the outcome when the House voted on this to say.
And yet we still watch the show. Why was that?
Because we are sick, guy. We're sick. I think when you talk about now moving this forward, right? Where is it going to go? Hey, you talked to Tim Kaine out in Virginia, and they're proposing, the 14th Amendment censure and eliminating him from running from office in a different way.
But bastardization of the Constitution.
Correct.
You're trying to make a square peg fit a round hole. But then you've got Lindsey Graham yesterday with Chris Wallace saying, yeah, I think a 9/11 style commission look-see into this is a good idea. Really? You don't think it's going to turn into a Trump roast 24/7? Do you think the people that are the Democrats are going to put on that commission are going to be objective and constructive? Right. And same thing, and it's just as bad on the other side. Do you think the Republicans are going to appoint somebody that's going to be a Trump critic? No, they're going to be Trump defenders. Maybe not. Maybe I'm too cynical, and you and I have had that discussion before.
I just think in terms of what we're going to see going forward is, I think the bastardization of it is a great way to put it, because these tools that we once saw as doomsday, last case scenario, we don't want to go about it this way. Now they've become the norm almost. And that to me is frightening going forward. And that's just the impeachment stuff. I mean, we've got a lot to talk about today. We're going to talk about Andrew Cuomo some more, because I got to be honest, that situation, I don't know if you ever watch Family Guy. I'm not a big Family Guy guy.
No, my kids loved it, and I never got into it.
But there's the main character, I don't remember the guy's name, Peter, I think. He did this bit where it's called Grind My Gears, right? Where he's just angry about something. And I'm generally a pretty angry person anyway, so it fits in this situation.
George Costanza's dad.
Yes, exactly. Not in Boca del Vista in New York. Or Del Boca. Okay, so in terms of what CNN is doing on this particular story, and specifically Chris Cuomo in covering his older brother, I have a real problem believing that he's just we're not going to cover it. I think when you want to hold yourself to some journalistic put yourself on some journalistic pedestal, I think it's important that your whole lineup cover this and not hide from it.
No, he should be the one calling for a 9/11 style commission in New York State to look into the cover-up of the nursing home deaths. That's what if you're a media guy, you look for more light, right?
Or you're just afraid of it and you want to run.
Or you know what, you do the right thing, which is you recuse yourself, and for that segment of your show you bring in another. It's not like they don't have enough talking heads at CNN.
It's
They
like
can
you
do
read
this.
my mind, Guy.
Well,
Tune in
I'm
at
going to read your
10:05.
mind by listening to your show, because normally I would say it's light reading, Chris, but I know that would be totally unfair. It isn't. It's a good heavy volume. Chris Renwick coming up next in for Frank Beckman. Take care. Enjoy your holiday. And we'll talk to you tomorrow on The Guy Gordon Show at 3 p.m. Till then, take care. Rich Lazinski, WJR Traffic.
This report is sponsored by Compassion International.
It's a new year, but for
All
kids
right,
in
gang,
poverty
thanks so
around
much
the
for
world,
listening
things
to
are
our
still
Facebook
desperate.
commenters.
Join
It's always
Compassion
good
with
to
your
hear from you.
one-time
Take care.
$40 gift to provide a COVID relief
the
kit
rest
to
of
a
the day
family in
off.
poverty. Text the word.
There you go.
All right, that's a wrap. Great job.
Yeah, it was good fun. Thanks again for letting us play. We managed to. I'm always amazed that we managed to find enough. It is so much fun to talk. You guys, so easy to get good takes on things with you guys, and it's a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, it's great fun. It's always exciting and new, and it's a lot of fun to do this. I'll tell you
So
that.
this guy Andrew Brody, if we could have gotten him, and I don't know if Andrew returned your call or not, or if you tried to
He
get
did
him.
not. He did not return it, and I was wondering, is this because they're out for the holiday?
It
Presidents?
may be, and he was maybe doing family time, but this idea of he got into some really good stuff, and you can hear it on the podcast.